Good evening, everybody. It's 6 p.m. on Tuesday, October 28th. Is that correct? Yeah, October 28th, 2025, and we are reopening the budget hearings for the draft budget for 2026. So again, I must read the statement. Thank you all for attending tonight's budget hearing. It is important to recognize that we are here tonight to focus on our financial priorities with regard to finalizing the 2026 York City budget. As our budget is basically the blueprint for the city of York, it is imperative that the budget team and I receive as much information as possible in order to ensure a fiscally responsible budget is adopted. With that said, we will hear testimony on projected income and budgeted expenses for all departments as they relate to programs and services for the City of York, appropriations, how they will be used, projected expenditures, and program outcomes. In considering the budget, Council may reduce any item and may increase or add items as deemed appropriate and/or necessary to achieve the city's goals and its financial objectives. I'd like to emphasize that this is a public hearing, not a public meeting. Although we welcome your comments, a public hearing is not a debate session, but is designed specifically for the purpose of receiving testimony and evidence on the issue at hand. Presenters will first be given an opportunity to outline their budget, followed by the budget team and council questions. We will then receive public testimony. It is asked that each person providing testimony give your name and limit your comments to 3 minutes so that everyone who wishes to speak has an opportunity to do so. Are rebuttal comments allowed? At my discretion, rebuttal comments may be allowed. If allowed, rebuttal comments will only address specific matters or questions raised during the hearing and must be brief, preferably 3 minutes or less. Things to keep in mind. Speakers should provide testimony pertinent to the subject matter at hand and should avoid repetition of comments made by previous speakers. Refraining from comment if the same points were raised by a prior speaker or simply stating agreement with the points previously provided will help move the hearing along so that others who wish to speak will have the opportunity to do so. Large groups whose members wish to speak are encouraged to designate a spokesperson. What about written testimony? Exhibits, letters, petitions, and other documents presented or shown to the council become part of the official record. Written testimony may be submitted in conjunction with or in place of oral testimony. What is not allowed? No disruptions or disorderly conduct will be tolerated. Speakers and members of the public shall refrain from abusive or profane remarks, disruptive outbursts, applause, protests, engaging in disruptive conversation during presentations, speaking out of turn, preventing or attempting to prevent others who have the floor from speaking, or other conduct which disrupts or interferes with the orderly conduct of the public hearing. Such conduct is strictly prohibited. Personal attacks on elected officials, staff, or members of the public are out of order and will not be tolerated. It is not appropriate for a speaker to debate a matter under consideration with other speakers, the audience, or members of the budget panel. Engaging in such conduct and failing to cease upon request will be grounds for ending a speaker's time. With your cooperation, we will have an informative and successful hearing, and your adherence to these instructions is truly appreciated. Consideration for adoption of the 2026 budget is projected to take place before December 31st, 2025, and will be advertised accordingly. Thank you. And with that, we will hear from our business administrator, Kim Robertson.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. We are going to continue our show today with Business Administration, Department 200. Make sure if you have a paper copy that it's the one that is dated today, October 28th, in the bottom right-hand corner. All right. The business administration budget is comprises of a couple funds. We start out with the general fund. The salaries associated with this budget is primarily the business administrator, the assistant business administrator, and the budget and policy analyst position. It's split between the Fund 10 and Fund 70 for internal services. So first we'll see the portion that is associated with Fund 10. It is pretty much all salary and fringe and internal and indirect cost. We haven't changed anything for travel or training. No change to pretty much anything that we had control over there. From there, actually, while we were sitting in the last budget hearing, we got confirmation that we received our next payment from WellSpan for their contributions. So I wanted to make sure that the portion that is supposed to go to police and fire are included in the budget. So for now, I put it here, so it went into Fund 10 in business administration. The proposed budget will have them in their homes in police and fire, but I wanted to make sure it was included. So
And just to be clear, the total contribution was $1.1 million, correct?
Correct.
And we will discuss the remainder of that in the budget tonight.
Yes.
Great, thank you.
All right, so that concludes Fund 10. Moving on to the proceeds from the sale of the wastewater treatment plant and the sanitary sewer system, Fund 28. So between the business administration budget and then you'll see in finance, you'll see where we document first here in business administration the revenue from that fund that we are anticipating. First of all, it includes the interest and investment income and purchased income, investment cash, everything that we are anticipating we will earn on the money that we have invested. Now, essentially because of the, we didn't underperform per se, but anticipating next year, we have reduced our estimate and how much we are going to earn to make sure that we're not overestimating with the way the market has been. It's better, but we want to make sure we're being safer than sorry. So from there, you do see reductions in those numbers. You do see an increase. We have doubled the amount that we need to pull from the funds from the wastewater treatment plant to balance the budget. So what I need to emphasize here is every year for the last, how many years since 2021, we have used money from the sale or the anticipated sale back in the day of the wastewater treatment plant to balance our general fund in terms of our budget. Jerry from finance will be able to confirm that we have only physically pooled from the funds, only needed to pool for our debt service and our MMOs for the last several years. Reasoning behind that is all kinds of, if we have less expenses throughout the year that we would have used other general fund revenue for, then that can go towards our health insurance than we had anticipated to pull out. So there's a difference, and this is where we see it the most, between what we have that we're anticipating that we need to budget for in order to have a balanced budget, and then what we actually end up pulling from the fund every year to pay the expenses. So this year is the first year, and you'll see in the next section where we're showing that we're transferring funds from 28 to Fund 10. You'll see how that is divided out. And this is the first year that I all but maxed out the total cost of health insurance in order to pick up the difference that was needed to balance the budget. Reasoning behind that. Well, I've looked, and the 27th pay that we will be anticipating for next year equates to $1 million. So that's part of it. Money that would have gone to health insurance previous years will now need to go to more salaries. So there's a need to potentially pay for health insurance from the funds from the plant. The rest of the numbers are the essentially the actual numbers that we have in here for the 2 debt services that we have left and the MMOs. So as we go through the rest of this, there are still several opportunities potentially where revenue can be increased or expenses can be reduced that will change this number before we present the proposed budget to council.
And can you give us a number of what our balance would be after utilizing these funds?
If we had to utilize all of them?
Yes.
I
guess where are we today? Because I know we just...
167, 68 million.
167 or 68 million is where we are now. Okay.
Yeah, as of the end
And that's
of
after pulling the last
MMO
set
payments.
for the
Yes.
MMOs, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And the debt service payment for next month.
All right. So essentially, and then we have just the December debt payment. Is that the only thing left?
We already
For this year, we just pulled that money.
Oh, so the December is already
Yes.
pulled.
Well, it was actually for the end, it's in the middle of November when it has to get paid, but we just pulled that within the last week or two.
Okay. So out of this 31, is all of that coming out of the balance? So that includes like your,
24.8. You can see that in the revenue because we don't have to pull what we anticipate coming through for earnings. So the last line under revenues for Fund 28 has the 24.8 million. That would be principal.
okay. All right.
So the one other factor that's in here, it's actually the beginning of page 2, is that in the agreement that we have where we are leasing out the property at 1601 Torrenita, part of our lease agreement is that if anybody's driven past there, they're renovating it. And a part of our agreement is that we will reimburse them up to $1.7 million. They have not, they're well underway. They have only 3 times to invoice us, so they're not invoicing us like every month. It's in there, and they have not submitted the first reimbursement yet. So I have reached out. If they can bill us before the end of the year, then we can use the budget that we already have for 25, which means I can reduce this amount that we are budgeting we have to pull from not the purchase of the plant, but the sewer authority money that's also in that we're using towards upgrading the property. So like I said, there's a couple factors still in line here that could reduce this amount. And that's my goal. When you see the proposed budget, it is going to be less than what's here. But at the moment, as it stands, this is what's needed to balance the general fund. All right.
I'm sorry, just one more
Yes.
question. So the 6.8 is the interest that we earned in 2025?
6.8 is what we budgeted to earn in 2025.
Okay, and so we only earned 5.
No.
Is that why the negative?
No, but we are anticipating to earn less in 2026.
Right, so I'm trying to understand what we earned in 2025.
I would have to look that up for you, or Jerry might know it.
It is approximately $7 million, which is kind of what I put in there for next year.
Okay, so we are taking 24.8 million out of the wastewater treatment plant fund. However, 7 million of that 24 million was actually just interest that we earned.
Correct.
Okay, so the way I'm looking at it, we're looking at taking 17 million out of the principal, not 24
If
million.
we had to, yes, that is
Yes,
correct.
if that is the maximum.
That is true. The carryover amount now is a combination of the principal and the earnings we've received since then. So you are correct. So we refer to as the carryover in terms of all the money that's in the CRIM is what's the funds available for this fund. But you are correct. It's not all principal as in what we originally got. It's the combination of what we've earned the last several years and our principal.
And once again, you said about 168?
I believe that is correct,
Okay.
yes.
So we would still be at 144, and we started at a little bit above 170, right?
178 is where we started.
178, okay, and we're gonna be at 144. So that means only 34 million of the principal has been used over these last,
If we have to use every penny
or
in
less.
here, yes.
Or less, 34 million or less, just so that folks understand what we're doing here. You know, we sold the plant and, you know, to keep the taxes down and to keep, you know, well, yeah, to fund this so that we don't raise taxes. And the plan was that would last 10 to 15 years. I think we're in our 6th year and still have over 80% of the principal. That's pretty solid. That was the point that I was getting at.
Is there any other questions about Fund 28 from the budget team?
No.
Any questions from the public before we move on? Okay. Moving on to page 2. When it comes to ARPA funds from this point forward, what is in here, this one I have updated in terms of what we anticipate that we need for the administrative fees for administering the ARPA, which goes to our consultant, and for legal fees. There's also $225,000 left towards the grant consultants, which we're still working steadily with. So these amounts are accurate in terms of what I'm anticipating for next year. Further along, when it comes to econ and community development and public works, those amounts that are in there at the moment still need updated, but the fund itself balances out between the money that we have carrying over and our expenses. So there only will reduce from what's in there. But at this point, this is accurate. Any questions from the budget team about the ARPA funds in 200?
No.
Any from the public? All right, Fund 66 is the White Rose Community Television. The entire fund is in Department 200's budget. This one always pays for itself with actually a little extra, and that's what we're anticipating here as well still. Cliff Kern keeps a pretty tight ship. Hi, Cliff. Yeah, he's really good with the money that he gets. So we had no issues with the request that he put in. Any questions about Fund 66? Anybody?
No.
All right. Lastly, in 200 is the internal services. So this portion of 200 does get allocated out to the other departments, and it comes through as the business administration allocation. So this is the other portion. I guess my notes are gone. This is the 70%, 65% of the salaries associated with 3 positions in business administration. And the bond insurance, a little bit of advertising for legal notices, a bit of dues, and that's about it. All right, and that's the end of business administration. Any questions from the budget team?
No.
Any questions from the public? All right, let's finish business administration with finance. So right off the bat, at the top of finance's budget, there's a couple revenue sources. First of all, we do have, of course, besides the CRIM account that we have the wastewater treatment plant money in, we do have several other bank accounts that earn interest. And so this is what's anticipated, again, with a slight reduction, similar to the earnings in the CRIM account, of actual interest we'd earn on those accounts that get to come into the general fund. Then this had previously been in the treasurer's office, but now it's officially here, is that we do anticipating about $2.3 million in pass-through payments from the state that go to the pension. So you'll see it as revenue here, and later you'll see it as an expense. So it just goes in and out. Lastly, in business administration, you saw the Fund 28, and we said where we're transferring it to Fund 10. This is where it's coming into Fund 10. So this is where the 24.2 part of it comes into here, part of it goes to Public Works directly for the 1601. We'll see along the way where some of the money goes in, but the majority of it comes in here specifically for the health insurance expenses and the MMO payments. The debt service, we'll see a little further, that goes right into the funds associated with those debt services.
Is that supposed to match this?
No, because it's split up a couple other places, the rest of it.
It's just a coincidence.
Yep.
Okay.
So that's revenue for finance and Fund 10. The rest of Fund 10 for finance are the expenses. And so this is, majority of it is associated with the staffing in the finance office and our favorite topic, audits. We have expenses in here associated with compilation and the audits, and we have been putting in essentially the money that we had budgeted in previous years for the audits that we're still catching up on, so that we make sure we have enough funding for next year to pay all the bills when they come through when we continue to get caught up. But that's about it. There was a request for an increase for some travel and training for the staff. There has been yearly OpenGov conferences that we found beneficial to send the staff to, since that is our financial system and budgeting system. So that's an increase so that we can send staff to that. But that is the revenue and expenses for Fund 10 in the Finance Office. Are there any questions about that? All right, so now we've got 2 more debt service funds left. I think when we started doing this, we had 5 or more, I think, many years ago. And these 2, Jerry, when are we done paying all of our debt service?
2027.
2027, we're so close. So, so at that point, since we are using funds from the wastewater treatment plant to pay these, we'll have less coming out in the budget for 28, I suppose, for 2027 and 28 as we pay these off. But the first one is our 2011 debt service. And so what you'll see here is we do have some money coming in for leases. Jerry, what are those leases?
I'm trying to remember which ones they are. I want to say it's the ones from the family services across the street for the parking.
Oh, okay.
And for the ATM machine from the bank.
Because this was the funding used for the renovations
Correct.
at City Hall. That makes sense. Okay. So that's revenue coming in, which reduces what we need to use out of the wastewater treatment plant money by $40,000. So we take it. So that's the revenue coming in, and then after that, the top of page 5 are the expenses associated with paying the debt service payment next year. So you'll see the fund overall balances out between the revenue coming in and what's going out. The similar thing, you'll see a similar thing for Fund 45, but that's for our 2017 bond. This one has no other additional revenue associated with it, so it is fully funded from the wastewater treatment plant money. And you'll see then the expenses, how it's paid out between the trustee fees and interest and principal, and the timing of them.
Could you remind me, please, are these in separate escrows now, or are they in the CRIM and we're just?
They're in the CRIM.
They're in the CRIM.
At this point.
Okay,
The only ones that are in the escrow were the ones that had to do with the sewer plant.
got it. Okay,
The sewer,
yes,
their
yeah.
bonds.
Yep. So this money is part of the money that you referenced earlier.
Yes, and
This
it
is
was
not in addition.
no, it's part of the money that was referenced
Okay,
earlier.
great. Yeah, so that's even more of an important point, is that none of these, so out of the 5 debt services, none of these bonds, none of these debts were created during this administration, but we've almost completely paid off every debt that the city has.
And the benefit is, since we were able to, originally these bonds, there were a portion of our real estate tax that was dedicated to paying these. And once we were able to essentially, first of all, we caught up on any fund balance within the funds to make our initial payments. I think we did this in 2022. And then from there, we were able to leave all of the real estate tax in Fund 10, except for what goes to Fund 20, and then use the money from the wastewater treatment plant to make the payments since then. So that also was, beneficial. We could take it from coming out of Fund 10 directly and use from the other place. So that concludes finance. Is there any questions about Fund 44 or 45 for our debt service, or anything else about finance? Legislative public? All righty. And that concludes business administration. All right. Final stretch. All right. Economic community development is what's next on page 6. And I believe we have our interim director, Tammy Harvey Bethea. You can sit over there if you'd like. Yeah, please get comfortable. Yep, when it's red, you're good.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to thank everyone for coming out. Please forgive DCED. Because of the change of the date, my staff is on vacation. So Kim she will be helping me through the budget because I have 4 departments actually to go through. So just be patient. Thank you. All right, so we have 400, which would be the Economic and Community Development budget. Everything stayed the same. We did not change anything. What you will see, the only thing you will see, I would say that would stand out is the 31,500. That would be the last payment for a loan that we had with CA, and it will be complete this year. So that's a positive. That was an old loan that was taken out, and that is something that I am really happy about. So if you have any questions about the budget, please let me know.
Yeah, Tammy, just going through the first page, your main staff, the budget associated with Department 400,000 is the salary for the director's position, and I'll have to double check. It's a small portion of the office coordinator salary goes there. I'm sorry, what?
A third.
A third, yep. So that's what is in the first section of our under expenses. Then cost center 355 is a community ecosystem coordinator. Revenue and expenses for them. And then it's the Crispus Attucks loans that you had brought up. Before we move on to the cost center for economic development, are there any questions from page 6 from the budget team?
Yeah, the revenue that you're putting in there from public-private contributions, that is rollover
Yes.
revenue?
Because we have not.
Yeah, so that is not any new revenue. This is revenue that has been donated by WellSpan for this program and has not been utilized in past years, so we still have a surplus there. And again, that program at no time has ever utilized taxpayer dollars, only donation funds. And I just wanted to take a second and mention that currently we have 2 community ecosystem coordinators. We fluctuate basically between 2 and 5, depending on how people are doing, how they like the job. And we have 2 right now, Erica Bryant and Tanya Larry. And just wanted to share what they are doing. So if you find these folks coming to your doors, if you're watching, these are folks that are coming to try and make sure that everybody has all of the resources that are available out there for your needs. So they have been working to help people fill out the utility, and they come out with laptops and help you fill out your forms, utility assistance, the application progress, submittal of necessary documents for proof, to get your discounts on your utilities, also the Dollar Energy participants application, and that requires a recertification every year. The Pennsylvania American Water H2O or Help to Others programs, they assist with signing up for that. And Compass benefits, the Pennsylvania property tax rebate, or property tax and rental rebate online filing, the PAHAF homeowner relief program, the York County Career Link work, and then also helping people to know when our wonderful York Fresh Foods folks are coming around to the different neighborhoods, making sure people get access to the fresh fruit and vegetables. And so they are, as you can see, this was a cost for this year of $40,000, and they assisted well over 200 individuals. So it's in my mind, a wonderful use of the donations, and WellSpan continues to support those efforts.
And actually, I will most likely go back and calculate and be able to increase that carrier amount to cover the entire cost, because we do have enough from previous years to do that, but I will confirm that. So that's a little bit less coming out of what looks as though it's coming out of the general fund just on its own.
Oh yeah, there shouldn't be anything coming out of
Yep.
general fund.
All right, any questions about page 6 before we move on? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name's Betsy Buckingham, and thank you, Mayor. I know I had asked, I can't remember if it was last year or the year before, for a report on ecosystem coordinator program, and I understand that you sent it today. I did not,
We received one last year, too.
so thank you. But also wanted to give a shout out to one of the ecosystem coordinators, Erica Bryant. I know you're listening or watching, and she reached out to me when I had the question last week and just wanted to know, was I in support of the program, opposed to the program, curious about the program? And I said, yeah, I'd just like to know more about it. And she was very forthcoming with information and passion about all the services that you mentioned, how she performs her job. She knew that there were 2. She could only speak, of course, for herself. But it was great. It was a great communication. She sent me copies of her survey and some of the other things. So I was very happy about that. And thank you for the report.
No, and thank you for those compliments because, these are folks that were already doing work in our community, wonderful, wonderful work. And coming into a more systemic kind of system, as opposed to being able to go around and help everybody that you want to help, versus now having to follow certain rules and criterias and clocking in and all of that stuff. It is a little bit more structured and therefore more onerous for them to do some of the great work that they've been doing. But I think it's been a benefit to all for us to be able to give them a little something back for all of the wonderful work that they have been doing and continue to do.
Because, and also that she was really clear about who they are serving. And she expressed her interest in serving the most vulnerable in our community, who may not have transportation, who may not be aware of services that, from which they could benefit. So it wasn't, I don't know if going door to door necessarily, I think she does go door to door and slips surveys through, but then is able to respond to those. But yes,
Well, actually,
the most vulnerable was
yeah.
her description.
Well, now that you bring it up, I'll just read off really quickly the first paragraph of the report. The goal of the Community Ecosystem Coordinator Program is to reach individuals and families that would benefit from services and resources that are available, but for one reason or another, individuals or families have not made the connections and follow-ups necessary to receive that assistance. We recognize that there are many reasons why our residents may not be receiving services: lack of awareness of the opportunities, lack of transportation, lack of time due to family or employment responsibilities, physical and mental health issues, senior isolation, lack of trust in government, and others. So there's so many reasons why people are out there and they're kind of disconnected from the wonderful services that we also know exist. So that's what we're trying to do there, is make a connection. People that won't necessarily be online trying to find everything that they can do. We all know that the costs of everything are going up, particularly utilities and rent. And mortgages. So to be able to have folks out there going door to door, creating relationships. At one point they said, I think one of the last lines is just to have conversations sometimes. So to have folks, you're sitting at your house, you're 90 years old, people aren't really paying much attention to you. Maybe your family's not in touch with you. And to have somebody knocking at your door every few weeks and just checking in on you, that alone is a great service to our community. So thank you again, Councilwoman Buckingham. Yes.
Hi, also Councilwoman, and I also want to give a shout out to Erica. Sometimes I learn on her Facebook page things that are going on that I was not aware of. And so I just wanted to let people know what the Facebook page is that she manages, and it's YC space Eco, ECO, West, in quotes, coordinator and friends, collective measurements for inner YC. So if you join that public group, she's got 349 members, so her reach is even beyond the 200 that she helped. And she shares great information about what's going on in the city and other nonprofit activities, and she reaches out to council people. So she keeps us in the loop, lets us know what she needs, you're right, she shouted out about a woman who turned over 100, and she is involved. And I just thank you for starting the program and maintaining it.
All right. Moving on to page 7. This is starting off with the cost center that's specific to economic development. So in here, you actually see a reduction because they were able to reduce the budgeted attorney fees and other professional services. Specifically, the attorney fees, I believe, is thanks to the ARPA funds that they still have available since they were associated with blighted properties, and they have ARPA funds for that. When it comes to the other professional services, Tammy, are you aware of what got removed from last time? I can look.
I think it was probably one of our salaries for temp, probably.
Well, I think the actual, I'll have to double check, the actual starting point of 417,000 doesn't appear right, because it looks like last year was actually 145, so.
Yeah,
I think
no,
that's
that
a
was an
little-
error.
Yeah, that's an
that's
error.
straight, yeah, that was
That's
an
a lot,
error,
what did we
yeah.
drop? It doesn't look like we dropped anything, so I'll fix that for the next one. Past that, pretty much, even then, reduction in travel and training from previous years. There's 2 employees that get paid and their expenses come out of this budget. So that's Economic Development Cost Center 00383. Any questions about that budget?
Hi, Elspeth Bupp. Will this, consultants for working on the comprehensive plan, would that be in this category of other professional services or a different part of the department?
ARPA.
No, they're under just the general 000 cost center under economic development, correct, Tammy?
I thought they was under ARPA, but
Well, we had money under ARPA, but we
expended
exhausted
it.
it. So any additional cost associated with the comp plan, if there would be, does not come out of this budget. Now, when we move on to planning and zoning, they do have additional budget in there for, I think, some zoning plan changes that they have anticipated.
But they haven't billed us for anything extra for the comp plan, so.
All right, so that's economic development. Next cost center, as I hinted to, is 00384, planning and zoning. So there is some revenue to account for when it comes to the zoning subdivision and land development fees, review fees, appeal fees, letter fees. That helps with about $32,000. And then the expenses are associated with, these are 2 employees, the planner and the zoning officer, and then also the cost associated with the commissions and the boards that all fall under there. There's quite a few.
Kim, is that not a mistake?
There was, when it came to the salaries, there was a position that was coded under here last year that it shouldn't have been. So this is fixing it, actually. So that's why it looks like there's a big reduction, only because I have to double check. I think it might have even been the blight position was here at one point when it should have been coded to housing. So that's the big change there. Any questions? There is an increase for the other professional services, and that is associated with the zoning code update.
If you can find this, because that one blight position is not 222,000, so I'm just curious about what else has been moved around out of that cost center.
Yeah, I can let you know.
Thank you.
Any questions about planning and zoning's cost center for the team? Public?
Elspeth Bupp, I guess I just see that that is 120,000 added to the 42070 other professional services for the marketing of the comprehensive plan, city vision, and promote city workers for recompete program. Am I reading that right? So it's 154,000.
And it does look like that's part of the reduction out of economic community developments, other professional services, where they shifted to be more accurate some of the expenses under this cost center. Any other questions on planning and zoning? All right, then we have, I don't know how the amount for the RAC-P match for to Penn Market, it keeps magically increasing. I don't know if the universe is trying to tell us something, but this is just a correction that what's in our financial system currently says 975, but that was never what was in the budget. So this is just a correction from what's in the system currently. What was budgeted last year was 325. What's budgeted this coming year is 325, because that's what we had allocated out of the general fund towards that. So that's the difference between that.
You had that department really excited.
Oh, I know. And I'm like, I know, like, this amount hasn't changed. And Blando asks me every once in a while to make sure he's got his numbers right. And I'm like, I referenced that email that I sent him forever ago. And then he'll be like, but that's not what's in there. I'm like, I don't know what ghost is increasing this for you, but
I think it's adding it for the last 3 years because it's been the budget for 3 years.
maybe that's what it is. But it is definitely 325. So I know he gets excited every once in a while, and I have to remind him that it's wrong. So that's the Penn Market Cost Center. The Visitor Center, we always contribute towards the rent at Central Market. That was an agreement that was in place many, many moons ago. Lastly, again, as I mentioned earlier, the ARPA that's budgeted here at the moment, you see there's an adjustment to the amount that associated with the changes to the department's ARPA over the year, but there's no change to the project, and there's actually, I have no restrictions, because we are still waiting to double check those amounts, because we want to make sure we roll over those proper amounts as part of the proposed budget. So those will be updated and explained which projects they are, so everyone knows what's happening. And I'll fix the total amount that still wants to give a shout out to friends and neighbors for some reason. Are there any questions about page 8, which really at the end, page 9 is just the final total for economic community development.
Elspeth Bupp, so the RACP match of 325, did we get the matching funds from the state, the 325 that it is matching? Or
We won't see that for a very, very, very long time. We haven't actually had to spend it yet, which is why it's still in our budget. Then we can seek reimbursement for the matching funds. That's my understanding.
Okay, so we don't have revenue to
Because
compensate for this.
the RDA has the rest of the revenue and expenses associated with this project since it's theirs. All we have is at some point they're going to knock on our door and say, hey, we're ready for that 325.
And I think there is an upcoming, I think your description of a very, very long time was very, very too much. Because there is an upcoming meeting, I believe, with the vendors. When was that again? Oh, you didn't go? Or last Saturday? Okay. Anyhow, there is progress. There is great progress. And we should be seeing some actual, we will be seeing actual construction and the expenditure of this money this
I was
coming
referring to
year.
the fact that my understanding is to get reimbursement from the state for RACP takes years. That's what I was, not that there isn't progress or a reason to spend money, just
Okay.
it's already anticipated. I've got a little Blando on my shoulder saying that, in terms of once the whole RACP process, that getting the reimbursement from the state share takes some time. Because she specifically said, do we get reimbursement yet?
Got it.
All right, if we're done with 400, we will move on to page 10, which is permits and inspections. Overall, what you'll see in here at the moment is no increase in the revenue, but in the background, Tammy, the mayor, the department is looking to double check, because several of these revenue line items are specifically based on what projects we're anticipating are in the kind of the the chute for next year.
Yes.
So we're gathering that information. So for the proposed budget, I'm hoping there's going to be increases in this, which means we can actually potentially reduce some of the wastewater treatment plant money that, because this revenue will be able to be used to pay the health insurance coming down the line. So there's nothing to report at the moment, and it increases for the revenue. But at the moment, the revenue that was in there still covers the rest of the expenses for this department as a whole. And hopefully there'll be more of a surplus that goes back into the general fund in general when we finish updating these amounts. So that's page 10 is the revenue associated with the work in permits and inspection. When you get to page 11 for the expenses, I don't know why vehicle repair likes to hang out at the top, but the cost here, again, the majority of it is the staffing and salaries and fringe benefit, and then further down is the indirect cost associated with this department's share of those expenses. There is it's labeled as a reduction in clothing, but I'm going to look into that because I think it was just an itemization that didn't get updated. So I'm going to double check that one to make sure that's accurate. Past that, there's no other increases or decreases past personnel. Going on to page 12, it's the same story. So we're kind of status quo, again, with the anticipation that as they're reviewing the revenue, they'll be double checking the expenses to see if there's any adjustments are needed with the team.
So with salaries and wages, what's the 149,000 increase? That's way more than the COLA.
27th pay.
27th pay.
27th pay. Yep.
And the only increases that we see is that we have a few of our employees there going for their BCOs and more training with our employees. And the income, the extra income that revenue that Kim was talking about, we have big projects like York Hospital, Dent Supply, and all the new projects that are coming in. So we could not speculate how much the fees would be, but they're pretty hefty. So to be accurate, we just didn't want to throw any numbers out there, so.
Not for the draft, but we will
Yes.
take a stab at it for the proposed. So that gets us through page 12. At the bottom of page 12, I guess I'll stop there. Any questions through the Nunn Cost Center?
Hi, Elspeth Bupp. The revenue line 32131, Neighborhood Improvement Ordinance, 70,000. It says the request is based on anticipated Neighborhood Improvement Ordinance tickets issued. And I wonder if that's based on just what they're issuing versus the amount of collection, because I have heard that we aren't able to collect 100% of the ticket revenue, and so I don't know
That's
if
that's based upon the amount of revenue that's actually received.
based on what's received. Okay, writing for more. And then you've got the next page, 42070, other professional services, $30,000. Anticipated need for other professional services to include temp agency costs. Is that because the staffing isn't full? Is that where it's going to cover that? And then is it possible that the clothing decreases based on actual spend from this year and
No.
seeing a lower need?
No, the temp agency is essentially, if we have any employee who essentially is out on leave or we have turnover, we need to have bodies to keep up with the process. So we've seen that in the last 2 years, so we make sure that we have it budgeted for so that we could cover temps that are coming in to either help because of vacancies we currently have or people out on leave, and or if we get so busy with projects that things are there's a need for more work to be caught up with it, that we will bring in temps for that. No, the clothing is an error that needs to be fixed. As specifically to our property maintenance inspectors recently moved into our Teamsters union. So now there's contractual obligations that are associated with the majority of the staff here. So we'll definitely double check those.
Equina Washington. I have a question about 40020. And so is that we're zeroing out, there will be no part-time employees?
At this point, they are vacant, and again, with the change to the union, part-time employees are included as union members under the Teamsters. So at this point, we're going to just work with the full-time staff and make sure that we schedule them accordingly to make sure we have coverage throughout the week.
Thank you. And then for 40010, what staffing is that included?
Sorry, what's the description?
40010?
That's
Oh,
salaries.
that's all the staff that falls under permits and inspections. So that's from the deputy director to the administrative staff to the PMIs themselves to your BCO, your assistant BCO, the codes enforcement, the I think health is in a different cost center.
That's in 3-3.
Yes, but that's
Okay.
everybody else.
Thank you.
Any other questions about 411 cost center 0000? All right, starting on page 13, the heading starts at bottom 12, but this is the third-party inspections. And essentially, when we do need to have the third party assist with the inspections, we have the revenue and the cost associated with that. And I'm sure Tammy or the mayor can explain more when we need to do that.
Yes, that's for our BCOs, and that's really important for our inspections. And if we have fires or any kind of emergencies, we always have to have someone stand in for that. Our BCOs cannot even take off because we only have 2, and it's really important that the city is covered. So that third party is really covered in it. And that's all we have is third party.
Yep, and it's.
But we have how many people train, just one training for their BCO right now, or?
Just one,
Okay,
but we have, well, two.
Yeah.
Because we just hired someone, she's really good. Her name is Lisa Foose, and she came in as our permit tech, but she came in with her BCO. And so we have Carlos Santiago, he's going for his BCO, so we will totally have 4 BCOs on staff. So that's really good.
Any questions about the third-party inspections cost center? All right, moving on to cost center 00330 for health and sanitation. Again, this is the salary for our health inspector, and then these are the revenue associated with the work that she does, and the expenses that are pretty much personnel and indirect cost. And that's about it. Any questions about that cost center? All right, and we're going to round out permits and inspections with capital projects fund 50. And actually, there was no request at this point for anything for that, so we're done. So you will see at the moment that department as a whole does have a surplus of nearly $500,000.
and that's from bringing the plan reviews and inspections back in-house into the city.
All right, starting on page 15, we start with the Health Bureau. So the big topic with the Health Bureau, of course, is going to be the question of funding, essentially starting July of next year. So what you see here is a budget that we've budgeted the last couple years where all of the salaries and fringe and indirect cost all get initially put into Fund 10. And then what we do is based on the funding sources that reimburse us for these costs, we go ahead and chip away at moving them out of Fund 10 and moving into the cost centers and the funds associated with the programs that health have that they're going to be reimbursed for. That's worked really well in terms of being able to tackle that and be more accurate in terms of what we are actually anticipating getting reimbursed for, since there are certain reimbursement percentages for fringe and for indirect costs, and they can change between the programs. So we did that again this year. So the staffing currently at the Health Bureau is included in Fund 10. And we have moved out what we can out of there into the programs that we know that we have funding through June, or there's one or two, I believe, that they know they have funding through the end of the year. But what I ended up doing is that there was a deficit because, of course, we've got full year's worth of salaries associated with it. So I did, at this point, overall back that out, which means that when we get updates in terms of funding, we always have budget amendments throughout the year for Health Bureau. But I'm hoping we have more next year, essentially, is the long and short of it. So this budget, if you try to compare it to last year's, it's always difficult to do because the cost center numbers change with the grant years, but it's not going to match up perfectly because it's a slim budget because we're not sure yet, and we don't want to budget for expenses associated with revenue that we may not get in.
And their fiscal year is not matching the city fiscal year. Their fiscal year is from July to June, where ours is from January. So that's what's making it hard for Kim to kind of bring that together.
Yeah, specifically the state, they're on a July to June, which is where we can budget through June. And then usually what we have coming through every year are adjustments. You know, we did our best in terms of what was anticipated to be left over the end of our fiscal budget to be used for the first 6 months of the next budget, and we adjusted in terms of what rollover is available. Or there's new funding, or what the new grant amount starting in July was more than what we had anticipated. This time, we're going to have a lot more actual amendments where we have revenue and expenses coming in and not just shifting numbers around. So that is pretty much the story of the Health Bureau budget. In terms of, you can go through here and through the cost center, see the different programs. Now, the one thing that I would like to point your attention to is the top of page 16. Out of the $1.1 million of the WellSpan contribution, there will be $368,000 going towards the Health Bureau. Part of that goes to funding their medical director, but then also $250,000 is just trying to help fill that gap. So I did take that in consideration, of course, before I backed out any more of the expenses.
Just to clarify, I made this decision to take some of the WellSpan money and put it into the Bureau of Health because both at the federal and state level, we're seeing potential reductions in funds coming in to provide these services. So we want to continue to provide the services, and previously, almost all of that WellSpan money went to fire and police, and a little bit to the ecosystem coordinators, and even a smaller amount went to the Bureau of Health. So now we've kind of spun that around because now we see that the need is in the Bureau of Health.
So past that, what you'll see is that there are programs that fall under the general fund, and then there are programs that fall under Fund 25, which is the state health. As you flip through this, they do have a couple programs that fall under the Special Projects Fund 26. So you'll see that further along. Yes, they do match. So again, we'll continue to double check with the Health Bureau in terms of any adjustments to what's in here currently as the draft that would be more accurate to what they are aware of when we present the proposed budget. But at this point, this is where we're at with them. So, and again, because of any reductions from the previous year, usually represents just money that they had spent out of what was given to them total. It's a little difficult to always go line for line. You'll see this with housing too, and then we change cost centers, so it's difficult to go through line for line. But if anybody has any questions in general about the Health Bureau budget, or if anything's catching their eye as they flip through these pages, please let me know.
And I appreciate the mayor moving some of that WellSpan money over, because that line item that you did roll it over to was the medical director from WellSpan, because without them,
No, they're not.
No, thank you, but just to clarify, one of the reasons why we're seeing the money previously WellSpan paid directly for our medical director.
right,
And so now the medical director is no longer WellSpan.
right.
So it's not a WellSpan medical director, but that is, I don't want to speculate WellSpan's reasoning, but we did get another $100,000 added. When I came, just so people know, when I came into office, WellSpan's contribution was $450,000, and now they're up to 1.1 million. So that's been a great benefit to the city. But within the last couple years, they stopped paying the medical director because the medical director is no longer a WellSpan employee. And so we got the extra $100,000, which then is paying the majority of the expenses for the medical director.
Right. Thank you. I just didn't word it correctly, but thank you.
You're welcome.
Just to point out, skipping ahead to page 22, that's the start of the Special Projects Fund 26. And you'll see that there are, Fund 26 and 6 in general are usually programs that we receive funding from other sources, usually contributions or donations for specific purposes, or in Health's case, sometimes they're one-off programs that, again, has a specific budget and purpose for it. So a lot of these, they've been chipping away at the money that we had received several years ago. So that's where you'll see a carryover fund balance as the revenue initially for that fund, essentially to balance it. And then you'll see where the majority of the cost centers after that will be all expenses. I don't know if they may have had their big ELC grant on page 24. That was the multi-million-dollar one that they had received off of COVID. That's the epidemiology lab one. They're still working on that, and it ends. It says here that it ends in 2024, but they did get an extension, so we'll have to ask for the update on that. But you'll see that they only have $325,000 left out of the multi-million dollars. So that one fell under Fund 26 as well. And then after Fund 26 on page 25, they do have Fund 93, which is the Wire Trust, which is a trust account that's associated with the clinic over on Philadelphia. And we are essentially given an allocation of the contribution from the trust every year. And the majority of that actually goes towards the health director's salary part of that, and some of the general clinic cost. That fund, obviously, we're only spending what we get in each year. So again, we will be working with the Health Bureau staff to make sure this is as accurate as possible as we possibly can for the proposed budget. Are there any questions about the health budget in general? Budget team, public, anybody?
Kim, we know what a mess this is and trying to deal with it every year, but we're also still getting revenue from 24. What are we going to do with it if it's not in the budget at all, if there are no codes for that?
The Health Bureau, for the Health Bureau, we're getting
Yes.
reimbursements.
Yes, they're reimbursed.
Right. So that was already essentially when we get that in, as far as we can, it should be applied back to AR, accounts receivable from '24.
Okay, and we're putting all of that in accounts receivable? We're finding that a lot of that is not in there, but we're starting to do that?
The health budget is not in 20, no, that's not in accounts receivable, but you can always put the money in there, whether there's a budget in there or not for revenue.
Oh, yeah, we're not,
We're just, it's not there for us to spend.
right. it's
Someone
not
doesn't have
there,
their mic on.
because we've already spent it.
Correct. So we're not going to budget for it as revenue, anticipating revenue coming in 25 or 26, because we had already budgeted for it to pay for the expenses that were in the previous year.
And we're still putting it in '24.
If we have the AR, if it goes into 25 or 26, that's fine. It's showing revenue coming in, but we're going to show that there were expenses in the previous year. And so you almost have to look at their actuals several years together to see, because of it being a reimbursement and there being a delay in the reimbursements. So you'll see the expenses in one year and the actual revenue coming in another. But as I said, when Jerry does the financial adjustments at the end of each year, fiscal year, there is AR taken into account that would represent the essentially the expenses that we had that we hadn't gotten reimbursed for yet. So you might not see it yet because of us still getting caught up on those adjustments, but that is what will ultimately happen in the system when we get caught up to 22.
Okay.
As part of compilation, we constantly have an AR at the end of the year, and that AR has to do with any monies that, because when you end the year, and specifically when you're talking about grants, if you have to have revenue that covers all of the expenses. We have all the expenses in there, the revenue may come in 6 months later, but I have to put the revenue back into the year that they belongs, because the revenue and the expenses must equal each other.
Now, ultimately, yes, we do have the function to, as we go along, submit them as accounts receivable in the system. And that's the ultimate goal. There's plenty of departments that have been doing that. Health, because of the complexity of their invoicing, they're not doing that in the system yet. But that's ultimately a goal, which means then there's less adjustments that Jerry would have to need to make at the end of the year to have an accurate representation of what our total accounts receivable is. Any other questions about health before we move on to housing?
Elspeth Bupp, and it's probably complicated, but if you could talk a little bit about the indirect cost line item 43090 and who calculates that and how it's calculated, and if that goes to all the grants that you are submitting or just some of them ask for it.
What page are you on? 15. Okay. So that is what's automatically done through the system. All of the indirect cost expenses there are the allocations for the costs associated, which listed there. The business administration budget, the HR budget, the IT budget, the insurance budget, and then there's one more that's there. But those are all the ones that show up in everybody's budget that are all essentially done in the system, where it pulls the expenses out of say the human resources budget, and then in the background we have an allocation that splits it according to the number of personnel. So they're all done according to the type of allocation that it is. Same thing, since I said I put all the personnel for the Health Bureau under Fund 10 414-000, this is all the costs associated. Same thing was done with any of in the background when it comes to saying where we want the cost pool split out to, we can say what account to put it to specifically. So say for Public Works, maybe there's some that are going directly to the 420 Public Works line item as opposed to splitting it across all the departments. That's a decision that was made in terms of, where it's best to represent the overall cost for the department. In this case, for Health Bureau, all of the costs associated with those allocations go into Fund 10 414-000. From there, as we had mentioned, each of the programs have a percentage that we are able to seek reimbursement for indirect cost. So that's when you go through the rest of the budget, then we essentially and you will see this, there'll be the details in the proposed, is that Jerry will actually itemize out saying, this much of the total for indirect cost is going to cost center so-and-so, this much is to that. And it's all based off of the essentially contractual reimbursement amounts associated with each program.
Correct, and that's where the analysis of impediments came in, because you only are able to take out costs like that if you do a whole analysis through the city.
All right, no other questions about health. We'll move on to housing on page 26. And this is your baby, Tammy. Go ahead.
Yes, and I am very proud, him and I.
got to delete a bunch of lines out of here, which means there's a bunch of years worth of funding that you spent.
Yes, we had rollover funds from 2017 to 2025. Now we only have funds from 2023 to 25, and only a little bit of 2023. Most of it is pretty much working with, and I'm not even gonna say that because they gave me a bill for $297,000. Public Works. So that's a lot off of that also. So I'm very proud that we worked really hard on this whole thing, with the little bit of staff we have too. So, yeah, so. If you guys have any questions, you can look through, but it's not much there anymore. The only thing we have is $17,000 left from COVID. I could not expend that, because right now I have to work that out because that's administration. So when we finish doing all the COVID drawdowns and closeouts, I will, take that down. That's 2022, so you will see that.
27.
Yes, 27, and it's $17,555. We've been doing really good on our admin. So we have quite a few rolled over, quite a bit rolled over. So at this point, I am going to talk to the mayor and try to figure out how we could reallocate some of those funds also. But still, we got to think about it because our funding too could be on a chopping block. So this could be a saving grace for myself. I'm not going to lie. So from the previous years of just trying to be a good steward of the funds could have saved me in the end to try to finish off our projects that we have still in the pipeline. We still have a lot of projects in the pipeline. So we'll keep looking out for that.
Yeah, because essentially, at any point in time, a New Year's worth of funding stops. You still
Have
are
projects.
guaranteed the previous year's funding, which means we need staff to make sure that works. So that administrative expenses or allocations that you have could reach out several years to get us finished up on those projects.
Correct. And I wanted to talk about in 2026, probably around the spring, we will be doing applications for our next 3 years for CDBG and home. So I will be sending out the information for that also. So before I forget. So let's see. Other than that, you guys, I have nothing that's really outstanding. We've been working on our rehab program. And we have been seeing that a lot of the rehab program in the past, we have been having a lot of houses sold. So I'm going to jump down. I'm going to jump all the way to the back because that's where it will show. That's $600,000. Page 32, which would jump to Fund 32. That is called high risk.
That's convenient.
So we have been doing a lot of satisfaction pieces for people selling homes. So all those old files that we have, I mean, we've been going back to 1989, some of them files are still there, you know, and they still owe us money. So, I'm sorry, but you know, they really been paying off the home, so when that $600,000 come in, we could only put it back into rehab. We cannot take the funds and move it anywhere else because that's where it was designated to. So,
So essentially, when they participate in the rehab program, we actually put a lien on the property, correct?
yes, we did.
So that at the point that the property sells, then we get reimbursed for the amount, and that comes back in, and that goes into the high-risk fund. And then, like you said, we have an opportunity every once in a while, because there's a fund balance in there, that we can transfer it back to Fund 30, right?
That's correct. And 150,000 of the funds was given to the county because county had $4 million, and it was called the Whole Home Project. I know that's hard to say. And they gave up to $25,000 to anyone from York City, York County. So a lot of people had a lot of things done to their homes. But for the York City people, they did not have the administrative funds to do the project. So we actually added $150,000 to that so they can work on homes in York City. And a lot of people have capitalized on that. You know, we had new roofs and bathrooms, and, you know, a lot of seniors have got a lot of work done. So that was a good project, and it's almost expended also. So. Anyone have any questions?
Going once? Going twice? That concludes Economic Community Development. Thank you, Tammy.
Thank you.
We'll be moving on. On page 33, we will start Public Works. And just to remind everybody, we did police and fire last time, so this is the last department we have for this year.
Good evening, budget team, council members, public. Thanks for allowing the Public Works team to present our budget tonight. As you know, the Public Works team has made a couple changes with employee turnover here in the last 18 months or so. So we restructured how we're doing things a little bit. We're doing it as a team instead of individual departments. We still work as individual departments, but we collaborate a little bit more. It's been helping our projects go a little bit better. Public Works in general is responsible for safe roads, streets, sidewalks, snow removal, leaf collection, any other thing, storm damage, cleanup, things like that. I'll let the individual departments go through over their projects for the year. I'll present Public Works budget for now and then proceed to my actual department. Dave Rudolph, Interim Director of Public Works, by the way. But the Public Works budget for right now is pretty much status quo from last year, with the exception of interfund transfer for from the Treasurer's Office for the Parks, Recreation. And then we had one increase. I had it here a second ago. Sorry, I changed pages. No, actually, that was the only thing that was different. Interfund transfer in Public Works. Rest of it is the same budget as last year. Actually, same budget as 2023, 2024. So we've been holding the line in the Public Works budget.
And I'll follow up with the, there is a couple ARPA projects in here, but I think only Only the one, which is the contribution to the Cadorus Greenway, is going to be left over for next year.
Right. The other one that was in there was North George Street project, but that's finished. So Jerry was going to pull that for us. Actually, I don't see it, so I think he already did.
Yeah, I took that one out for ARPA.
Okay.
And past the general fund and Fund 29 for ARPA is your capital projects, Fund 50. The one thing that there is a reduction of is that we had finished up the 15-year payment of the energy upgrades
Yeah, I was going to bring that up.
last year.
So that will reduce that. I am in the process of looking at doing another energy project. With being 15 years ago, they've made progress in energy savings. So some of that may be solar. Right now, I'm looking at some solar for here and the 3 parking garages, and possibly they would like to do the ice rink, but I'm not sure how that would work out with our vendor that we have running the ice rink. So have to talk to them. But the ice rink would be a great project for solar. Yeah, nice, huge flat roof.
And this will also, you'll see where the money that was mentioned earlier in the business administration budget coming out of the proceeds from the sale of the plant towards the upgrades at 1601 Tornita. This is where it comes in to the budget. It goes, instead of Fund 10, it goes into Fund 50 directly. I think besides the small amount that goes from the general fund to pay for vehicle leasing, then you just have 2 projects that's been lingering, the George Street repaving and the PennDOT automated light. I do want to double check those amounts with you, but they are reimbursable. So whatever amount that we have yet to
Right.
spend, we will get the revenue reimbursed for.
PennDOT, the George Street project, I think we have like two small invoices yet to go in that project to be completely done. We're waiting on some parts. And I got news today, PennDOT automated red light is on hold. So that actually
We might clear both.
puts a halt on my project in my actual department also in the electrical bureau. That was to rewire and redo all of Route 30 in our jurisdiction, which would be Roosevelt, Fairlane, and Pennsylvania Avenues. So, yeah. So that actually concludes Public Works Administration's budget.
Are there any questions about the budget for 420?
Hi, Elspeth Bupp. I missed what you said about Project 486, the ARPA Princess Street Center. Looks like there's $1 million budgeted revenue, $1 million budgeted expense on the top of page 34.
Oh, that the title needs to be corrected. It's just ARPA projects. It's the same thing where I was giving a shout out to friends and neighbors in 400. This title just needs to be updated to ARPA in general. So there is the funding for the Princess Street Center was removed just recently out of the 25 budget, so it will not be in the 26 budget. The $1 million that's left there is the Cadorus Creek project. So that's just a typo in terms of my label.
Good evening. Sandy Walker. For Princess Street Center, is there an annual expense for the city?
Just basic, right now, basic minimal use utilities because the building's unoccupied. But once, if it were to be occupied again, the leasee would pay the utilities. So right now it's just basic upkeep and minimum utility.
What's the current condition of the building?
It's in need of a lot of repair. You're looking at several $100,000 in repair just in roof alone.
The most recent review we got was 2.2 million.
Yeah, That's what I thought, but I didn't want to give that.
which is why we moved away from it. The council president and I had spoken about this, and the 350,000. When you're given a $2.2 million bill and you have a $350,000 in your account, you're not going to get a lot done. And so that's when we looked at reallocating that, because it has to be spent before the end of next year. There's just no way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What about the Sylvia Newcomb building?
Sylvia Newcomb is moving forward. We have, we just got so the original plan of, I don't know about original, my plan for the Sylvia Newcomb Center was to add a gym onto the back end so that we had additional space for the neighborhood. And we got some very high numbers back for including renovation of Sylvia Newcomb interior building, as well as adding the gym. What we found was that we could add the gym separately without impacting codes and requirements that would be what am I trying to say? Basically, if we worked with the Sylvia Newcomb Center and the gym at the same time, we would be required to do a whole bunch of upgrades to the Sylvia Newcomb Center, which we do not have the money for. So we are looking at a $3.2 million project, I believe it is, to just put in the gym on the back end. So we are moving forward with a gym with locker rooms and some amenities like that, but not yet touching the main building of the Sylvia Newcomb Center.
Any other questions about 420's budget before we move on to Highway 421? All right.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Keith Gerber, the Highway and Fleet Superintendent. And just a few highlights from our year. We have currently completed 6 paving projects, 2 still underway. We have done 3 alley paving projects this year. We've really been making some headway with paving out there. Also, there's been a lot of projects with the utilities that I coordinate with as well, with their restorations and making sure that we're getting a complete repair as well as line striping once that's done. There were some bridge repairs done this year over 2 bridges over Willis Run, which was Pershing and Smith Street, as well as the Jackson Street Bridge over Tyler Run. Those were some major projects that we did this year. And of course, we constantly fight the sinkholes that appear after rain and after bad weather. We did about 6 or 7 of those repairs this year. So I've been a very busy department this year. Very happy with our progress and the continued effort to upgrade our infrastructure for the highways. As far as the budget is concerned, we're really not asking for much in way of the general budget. Fund 10, we are really just keeping the same budget as we had. You will see we added $5,000 in there for laundry cleaning. That's contractually obligated. And I think we are kind of separating that back out to each department rather than it being one lump sum for all departments included. And we did ask for an additional $5,000 this year in our other professional services account, 42070. And that's to pay for the message boards that we use for assisting with detouring traffic and letting them know events are coming. We may use them in the event of a snow emergency to inform the public. As far as Fund 10 is concerned, that's pretty much everything that we've asked for as far as an increase in our budget for the year. Any questions?
I'd just like to point out that I've realized my allocations on page 36, the adjustment amounts are incorrect. In case anybody caught it.
Okay.
You mean the missing adjustment? Yeah.
It means they're missing. Yeah. There should be numbers there and they're not. It doesn't affect what's budgeted, it just affects the total at the bottom. So Keith, that's Fund 10. That gets you through the cost center none 000. Just real quick, your cost center 00396 for MS4 stormwater is also in there, and actually you've got a couple reductions in there.
We did, yes. Yeah, we reduced a little bit I'm trying to find that one on here.
Missing adjustments.
Yeah, in the travel and training, we took a reduction, and in association dues. So we reduced almost $3,000 out of that budget.
All right, and then that gets us to page 38. So we get through the general fund. Are there any questions about general fund for highway from anybody? Before we move on to Fund 21, liquid fuels, I don't know if you want to give an update on what that is.
Yeah, so liquid fuels is money that we receive from the state to assist with the infrastructure upgrades, such as the street sweeping, leaf removal, snow removals, the signs that you see along the streets, the pavement markings, like the long lines, as well as the stop bars and the crosswalks. Also, there's the paving account in there, and the storm sewer repairs. So the majority of those repair work or maintenance work is paid for out of liquid fuels, which is money that's allocated from the state. You will see in our budget, there's a fairly large, looks like a fairly large amount of money asked for our vehicle budget, which is 46100. That's money that we use to purchase, we purchase equipment with that to assist the department. We've upgraded over the last maybe 5 years a lot of really outdated, rusted, in terrible condition equipment, and that's why I've been able to report all the upgrades that we've made in the highway department. As far as the streets and storm sewers, because we now have equipment that assists with that. But that increases about 53,000. That is not a new request. That was actually a request. That was actually what was in the budget previous, but this year, for whatever reason, it wasn't put in last year, and we kind of just worked around it for the year. But we are looking to use that money to purchase and a mini excavator, which we actually rented one to help with the pocket playground. We did all the excavating with that. It was a huge tool for us, and we've learned that would be a major tool for us to do a lot of the digging, street work, smaller work that we do on our size. If it's much larger, we will subcontract to a larger outfit. And I also would like to eventually, and I don't know if I can fit it in, but I'm getting quotes right now on getting ourselves a small mill to help with milling the roads, so that we can continue to increase our road repairs. That would be a huge tool for us, and that's where that money would come from, the payment for that would come from.
And for everybody, that's on page 38 in the little lower than center. It's cost center 10003 major equipment.
Yes.
So I know that we have been able to save some money in contracting out to do these road repairs, and it sounds like you believe that it's been beneficial to us.
Yes.
So I hear that you're wanting to expand the department, basically. Can you get us a report back on the amount of savings that we've seen by taking these otherwise contracted out repairs and bringing them in-house?
Yeah, I
think that'll help. That'll help with the decision to determine whether or not this is something that should be expanded.
Okay. Yes.
If you only look at it from one side, it just looks like we're building up a department and things like that. We need to find that savings to really prove to the public that it's a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah, and I will say part of that savings will be also, as well as the liability that we fall into when vehicles are, I'm assuming, make claims that are paid for damage to vehicles and that type of thing.
Yeah, if we're addressing the issues quicker because we can do them in-house as opposed to contracting them out, then those issues are fixed before somebody could. And there's certain items that do not fall under our responsibility, but there's some that do. And then it does, based on our deductible, we end up having to pay out, I think it's like 25,000 at least towards claims like that. So that'd be great. But at the moment, there's no request in here for increase. We're pretty much status quo, but if there's more that Keith wants to add, then.
Well, it's an increase because it's a repeating expense.
You mean just specifically to buy the,
Yes.
oh, I thought you meant the staff, like.
No.
You said to increase the department. I was like, I wasn't sure what you meant by that. No, this is all under liquid fuels. So this is funding that falls within what we have in that fund at the moment.
Right, but it also takes away then from, if you're buying equipment, you're not fixing the roads with that money. You're buying the equipment. So there has to be a savings to make up for using the liquid fuels funds for purchase of equipment when we know that that is taking away money from actually fixing roads. The delta is in the savings you get by moving things from contractual to in-house.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying that we need to see.
And the other major one you'll see is in 45150. That's our street materials account for the salt. Do I have that right? Yeah. Yep, I'm asking for an increase there. Salt continues to get more and more expensive every year, road salt. And we have after last year's winter, when we actually had a real winter, or somewhat of a real winter, we cut it really close on our salt for the year. And I just would like to have a little cushion there in case we get the big one, so to speak. So that's what that increase is for as well.
And I'd like to.
Page 39, 45150.
Yeah.
Huh?
45150.
Yeah, it's going from 110 to 132.
Yeah.
It's under the cost center one. It's at the top, cost center 10005 for snow removal. So there's top of page 39.
The first set of expenses, not the second.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. The one other thing I just want to mention for liquid fuels is that on the middle of page 40, when we conclude that department, there does appear to be a surplus, but you'll see that that is spent in the business building and electrical bureau's budget. They have expenses over there and no revenue. We just show all the revenue coming into the highway. Are there any questions about the liquid fuels fund?
Yes, I just wanted clarification. Have we completed the required paperwork to receive our liquid fuel funds for 2025?
I didn't hear.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
we're all caught up on.
Yeah,
all
we're
the
caught up.
liquid fuels funds, yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank
And we
you.
got notice of this payment that we're budgeting for here, what the amount is and when we anticipate to get it.
Is that the total amount that's listed here, the 1.1?
At the top, yep.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Hi, Elspeth Bupp. Didn't know what she was going to ask, but I thank you, Kim, for giving us the year-to-date through August of 2025. And the liquid fuels revenue looked like it hadn't come in yet.
It comes in
So
September.
that was
past
my
that,
question.
yeah.
When does it come in? So it comes in September.
Yeah, it's September, October that it usually comes in.
Yeah.
Yep.
This year it was mid-October. It was late for whatever reason.
The next-
All right, if there's no other questions, that gets us to the degradation fund 22, about the middle of page 40. Can you explain what that is?
So the degradation accounts are monies that are collected from our utility mostly from our utility contractors when they fill out street cut permits. They are charged a permit fee, and that's a part of that amount, that revenue that goes in there. And then we also collect money as degradation for when the street is repaired, the patches that everybody complains about on the streets that are the utility. We actually charge a degradation fee for that. I can't explain the formula. Maybe maybe somebody else could, but it is complicated. But we do, we bill for that, and then that money is divided between the degradation accounts.
And that's per ordinance that you can use the
Yes.
whole degradation
Yeah.
ordinance for it.
Yeah, well, now we have in the past waived some of that degradation fee if we get a complete full restoration of the streets, and that's what I explained earlier about working with the utility companies to give us a better job so that they don't have to pay. And it works out in our favor if they pave the street for us curb to curb rather than paying us a fee and then we have to try to track that and eventually get that street paved on our own.
Okay, so degradation, and you'll see that there's two cost centers, just the non-cost center that has just the revenue coming in for the street cut permits and the weighing oversized vehicle permit revenue that's coming in. And then you have a couple expense items that come out of that, which again is based on repairs and paving projects. And then specifically, there's a stormwater management cost center 00308. Again, there's a revenue associated with stormwater management that I'm assuming we bill out and get in return, and we have other contractual services to hire a contractor when the job is too large or technical for us. So it's a bit of a we can use the revenue to supplement the other line items.
Yes.
Are there any questions about Fund 22 degradation at the bottom of page 40? Lastly, on the top of page 41, we have capital projects. Can you explain the $400,000 request, because we don't have a description?
So the $400,000 request is a large portion of the amount that it will take to replace the Beaver Street Bridge that goes over Willis Run. So that project is estimated at $600,000. This is $400,000 that we're asking to assist with that. Now, if I'm correct, we actually transferred that money last year.
Yeah.
Well, it was in the budget.
Yeah, it was budgeted last
If you
year.
didn't spend it, then you have to budget again.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so that project was put on hold last year because of an issue with some of the electric lines in there and whose responsibility it was to move them. And turned out it was, I think, a shared issue between MedEd and the Housing Authority.
Right.
Neither one of them really were willing to do anything with it. The bridge needs to be replaced sooner than later, so we actually are going to take care of that so we can get the bridge replaced next year, in 2026.
Yeah, we have the electrical system set to be moved this year yet.
Yeah.
Will that then be a lien on the other two entities that are responsible?
I'd like to. It's the Housing Authority's power, it's not MedEd's system. Because of the way the system's set up, the Housing Authority owns all of it. They don't have the funds, nor were they willing to budget it. And the only way we can get the bridge replaced is to move it. So
What about MedEd's part in it?
MedEd doesn't own any of it.
You said something about two entities.
Yeah,
I was going off of old information. That's what we originally were told, so.
Yeah, originally we were told MedEd shared it, but we found out over the last couple of weeks that it's strictly owned by the Housing Authority. So, and the project to move it is
It was like $19,000.
$19,000. So it's holding up a $500,000 project for $19,000. So we pulled it out of electrical to move it.
All right, now you got me confused. Okay, so the 400,000 is the cost of the project, and the 19,000 is the cost of moving.
Right. The moving the
The
electrical.
electric, okay.
Yeah.
And you had the 400,000 budgeted before, you just didn't spend it.
Right.
Got it. Although that's not reflected here, was that in an earlier budget, like 24 or something?
Yeah, it was in 24's budget.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions regarding Fund 50 capital projects for the Highway Bureau? All right, flipping to page 42. Keith will take a break and we'll go back to for Building and Electrical, Department 422.
All right. Now I see increases coming down through there in expenses. First ones that catch my mind are all internal allocations. So if you want to explain those, I'll let that up to you. The first one's insurance allocation.
Yep, you can skip past those.
Okay. But the main increases for us are basically contractual increases due to contract or utility bill increases. So you come down through, it's a couple $1,000s in all the utilities. And then another major increase would be the electric streets. For the street lighting, we added $65,000 there from liquid fuels and increased that, moved that out of liquid fuels back into general fund. Natural gas is up. We anticipate about $26,000 because of the rate increase. And then you come down to building repair services. That's up about $45,000 because of some of the repairs we want to do to brick and sidewalk throughout the downtown area, to include some of the comfort station area. That project is going through right now, but there's still a little bit more to do in that project.
So I know natural gas has increased, but tenfold?
I think we pulled other departments into that account.
Is that what's happening here?
Finance, at the end. I think it is either a correction or the way they've reorganized some of our accounts.
Yeah, it was like they combined accounts.
So we should be seeing reductions or removal of, are those line items removed from the other so that we can't see that?
I thought they were. I didn't see them while we were going through
Yeah.
tonight. Yeah,
So we can't actually see the reductions.
You'd have to pull all of the natural gas accounts together to see it. And even then, the other ones are increased because of the potential increase of cost. So you're not going to directly see it as a dollar amount in terms of an overall reduction in our natural gas cost.
Right, but what you're saying for all of these utilities is that you've taken utilities from all across the departments and
No.
combined them all into this.
No, just natural gas. There must have been there was an adjustment to the account that we have. We have several accounts for each utility, and there was probably a shift where it was determined that one of the accounts needed to actually fall under building and electricals budget as opposed to where it was before. No, it was last year that we moved. They used to be all in Public Works.
Right.
420. That was, I got to take like 7 pages out of that budget because all the utilities used to go in there. And then we decided we pulled them out and all the utilities are going under the departments that actually use the buildings associated with it, like police and fire.
Yeah, that way we could track, instead of having one lump bill, we knew what building, so we could track if a building was having issues. More so, we noticed it with like water. So we couldn't track a water leak in a building because we got one lump sum. Now, if we see something over a certain amount, we can go to that building and try and find out what's going on. Same with the natural gas.
That makes a lot of sense. Can we get the electric one explained here? So there's an explanation of 200,000 of increases over in the description, but the increase is over 425,000. So what's happening with the other 225,000? Where'd that come from?
When we actually got the actual figure for the liquid fuels funding from the state, it was much less than we had before. And the easiest way to make the reduction is to change the street lights that was being paid for by liquid fuels money, moving it over here because the liquid fuels money is being reduced for next year.
Yeah,
We've been chipping away at that line item and moving more of it to out of liquid fuels because of either budgeting the rest of liquid fuels to other projects
Yeah.
and or the reduction in the liquid fuels money over the last several years. And this is just concluding it that it's all over in Fund 10 now.
yeah, it allows highway to do a little more paving and different projects because we're not utilizing liquid fuels for the street lighting. It's an eligible expense, but we were picking projects over street lighting. Trying to more bang for our buck.
There is still 50,000 in your fuels budget on page 44. So we'll see how long we can keep that there for you.
Yeah.
But there was $218,000 in their 25 budget, and we had to reduce that down to, because of the.
You had to reduce it in exchange for projects.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. I think they lowered our liquid fuels allotment that year, wasn't it, Jerry?
It was a significant difference in it,
Yeah,
yes.
yep.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I was looking at traffic signals that has 50,000. You only have $2,829 for electric street anymore. in budget.
So it basically wiped it out.
Yeah.
So what was your reduction this year in the liquid fuel or expected, well, you don't know
It was over $200,000.
in liquid fuels?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. So instead of reducing projects, you you increase the cost to the taxpayers of the electric lights.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody needs a street light.
Dave, going on to page 43, I mean, there's a couple increases just to vehicle repair services and electrical.
Yeah. If you come down through electrical supplies, so we increased that by $5,000 for Height Electrical. They're gonna try and redo the lighting in this room because every time you come in, if you notice, there's a different light out.
Somewhere, some don't.
Yeah, and you know, we turn the lights off and turn them back on, those three will light and these two will be out. So it's it's really annoying. The other thing we have budgeted for over the last, I guess, 2 years, Tom and I have been able to combine forces with the Visitors Bureau and redo the lighting in Sertoma baseball field. We put new lights for the first time ever in that field. This year we're doing field 3. Next year, if this budget goes through, we will be doing lighting on field 2. Both those fields are currently in deplorable shape. The poles are ready to fall over. Field 3 should be done this year. Field 2, you know, if it goes through, will be done October of next year. Maybe sooner if budgeting allows. I think that's it for changes in this one.
Yeah, there's just a reduction in the other capital equipment, and that's more based on what your need is for this year to get the digger derrick as opposed to what you had requested last year.
Yeah, that truck is in process now. We expect to take delivery of it mid-December of next year. So it usually rolls over. You know, we might have to roll that over if anticipated issues with building it. And then move down to liquid fuels. We were to do a traffic signal upgrade on Route 30, as I said earlier. That project is stalled because the ARPA funding, or not ARPA, the ARLI funding, the automated red light system is on hold. I got that notification today. Also, the TASA grant that we were going to use a little bit of that money for that. Also, they're all on hold because of the government shutdown. So, and they have no anticipated let date now. The let date on that project was to be mid-November with a finish date of mid-December. Now, they said maybe 2026. So I'll roll that project over as long as we can.
All right, and that gets through your budget on page 45.
I just wanted to point out one last thing about how good you guys are at trying to keep everything going as long. The truck that they're replacing, yeah, it's a $400,000 expense in here for the capital equipment, but they're replacing a 1988 model vehicle. So good job.
I appreciate
way to make them
that.
last, as best that we can.
I appreciate that. You realize that, these digger, with the dump trucks people see, but the digger derrick trucks and the bucket trucks that we use, it's like it's a safety issue. We can't have, guys up in the air 40, 45 feet in the air on a truck that won't pass its annual inspection. So I appreciate you guys letting us buy this equipment.
Are there any questions for the 422 building electrical budget? All right, we'll move on to page 46, and we'll talk to Keith again for fleet and 423.
Okay, this one's, so this is the fleet budget, and essentially what that budget assists with is running our garage, which is a full-service garage to this point, and our fueling station. So we do have 3 mechanics. We have 2 full-time mechanics and a part-time mechanic, and they are responsible for our entire fleet. The majority of this budget is, I won't say, I'll say half of the parts budget, half of the vehicle repair service budget is used for the emergency vehicles, such as the police patrol vehicles, and some of the fire units. This also assists with all of the other vehicles outside of the highway vehicles. The highway vehicles are all paid for through liquid fuels, but this budget handles Dave's vehicles, Tom's vehicles, the parking, zoning, everybody else's. So essentially, I'm really only asking here for an increase because of rising costs. I'm not looking for anything specific. I am trying to purchase a wheel balancer in 45170. That I'm asking for an additional $8,100. That's to buy a wheel balancer and the weights and the bundle that it takes to balance wheels, so we don't have to send that. That's one thing that and doing alignments are the only 2 things we really can't do in our shop. We send them out and we have that work done, and unfortunately we have to send a lot of the police cars out, so it adds up. So this will pay for itself. Other than that, like I said, it's just mostly increases for, I have it labeled as inflation, but rising costs on the parts. Everything has gotten so much more expensive. So that's it. Anyone have any questions?
All right, thank you, Keith.
You're welcome.
Next up is our environmental services budget, which is 424, and it starts on page 48. This budget is a combination of the essentially the cost associated with our favorite topic of the refuse collection, and then also in the past year or so we did add a separate cost center for the staff that falls under sanitation, which is part of Tom Landis's crew, and that's cost center 00104. So to start with, you're going to see the staff associated with environmental services in general. So you're going to have the staff is going to be Sapphire, who is our, what's your title? Environmental Services Specialist. And then also our part-time employee who is a large item line attendant is what you're going to see on page 48. But skipping over the important part is the revenue at the top. So this entire budget department is paid for through the refuse fees that we're anticipating to collect next year, with a little bit for a recycling grant that we've been getting, and hazardous waste fees, and a little bit to get paid back for the leaf bags that we buy and then sell. So that's just a pass through. But continuing down, just skipping ahead for everybody, the Fund 10 expenses then through 00000 none are just associated with the employees. Until we get to page 49, you'll see expenses in here for the quarterly newsletter. That is a requirement of our grant, so you see that in here. There are utility costs that are associated. These utility costs are just a portion of City Hall's, correct? Just for the purpose of the refuse, to be able to pay it through here as opposed to elsewhere. Because in sanitation, they have the costs that are associated with the shop over at Parks. But then we get down to the bottom and we have our refuse collection and refuse disposal expenses, which we all knew already because of our increase in rates for refuse, that there were anticipated increases that occurred this year that are continuing into next year. But that is pretty much the increase to the non-cost center for environmental services. Is there any questions up to the middle of page 50? Bless you.
Thank you. Yeah, I just had one, and that was with the refuse disposal, Sapphire. Does the adjustment account for that $75,000 anomaly, or is that already taken out?
No, that, you're talking about from.
Seth, go up to the microphone.
Sorry, didn't mean to click. I was a mouthful of water.
Okay, that, are you talking about from ESC?
Yes.
That we never, I ended up giving Brett some of the information on that. That's something that's still a work in process.
No, but I mean
for disposal.
financially. So what I'm saying is that if your expectation is that it needs to increase 229,000, was that expectation influenced by the $75,000 increase?
We're having an increase. I don't know when it's going to happen for disposal. It'll change again from $83 a ton to $85. So it's going to go up. And then we kind of did some calculations, me and Deneen. We sat down and we looked at how much tonnage we've already had this year and kind of did some calculations to, we don't know when it's going to happen, how much we've already spent in disposal, and with the increase that's going to happen, which we don't know when it is. They'll just send us a letter and they'll eventually just show $85.
But that one point was kind of my point, was that using the numbers from this year are going to be inflated by $75,000 because of that issue that we had with
Yeah,
the
but it wasn't
contractor.
for all the months.
I know it's not for all of the months.
No, Saf, he's talking about the recycling,
Yes.
the dumping issue when.
So,
Yeah, that figure's not in there. I'll explain to her that. She's on two different pages. I know what you're talking about. No, that figure's not in there. We ate that $75,000 until Brett can figure out if we can
Okay.
backbill
He
ESC.
just wants to make sure your baseline that you're working off of in terms of what our expenses and our tonnage was this year. If you're using that in order to estimate what it's going to be for next year and then the increased cost, he wanted to make sure you weren't accounting for the additional tonnage that was associated with that 75.
took that tonnage out when you did these calculations.
Yeah, we were going based upon what we normally have.
Okay.
So I didn't do it based upon the one that I had a
All right,
discussion
because
about.
what you said was based upon what we had,
Yes,
expenses we had earlier, but that's not what you're doing. You're basing it upon a solid number that we
That
had
we-
and then multiplying that times 12.
yes.
Right.
Okay,
Yes.
all right, very good.
Is that it?
And
That's all I got.
by the way, Sapphire picked up that project, started that position, and and a new contract at the same time and knock
You
it
are
out
doing
of
a
the
great
park.
job, thank you.
Rocking it out. Thank you. All right, if there's no other questions through the middle of page 50, we can move on to the cost center. That is 0004 for sanitation. And Tom Landis, that's yours. I don't know if you want to.
Sure, thank you very much. And before I get started, though, I do want to echo the comments about Sapphire. She took on a very challenging contract in a very new position. And, you know, once the contract was established, the challenges with getting residents and the contractor adjusted to how we do trash removal in the city it just started. So she has been busy still after the date that the contract was signed to make sure that residents and the contractor are working together. So from a public works perspective, I want to say thank you, because I know you've had a lot of long hours and weekends making this happen. Good evening, everyone, Mayor, the budget team, members of council, and guests. My name is Tom Landis. I actually run 2 bureaus for the city of York. I'm the superintendent of both. I want to start off with sanitation. Sanitation Bureau consists of myself and 5 full-time employees. The one thing I would like to just point out as far as an accomplishment, because of the changes in our refuse contract, the city took on the disposal and the maintenance of the 141 ornamental garbage cans that you see within our downtown district. With that, we hired 2 new employees to take on these daily challenges, which I think has gone very smoothly. We have 2 very dedicated staff who have become very intimately involved with the route. I think one of the biggest challenges that we have that I don't think most of us understood until we took it on internally is that our ornamental cans are used more than just people taking trash out of their vehicles or, you know, putting that sandwich wrapper in as they walk through our downtown district. We are finding a lot of use by city residents, city businesses, utilizing these cans as their way of disposing of trash. Because of Sapphire, the 2 employees that I have that are out there daily, we are starting to accumulate addresses, businesses that we're going to reach out to try to usage so that we can reduce our waste and reduce our man hours out in the street. The Bureau of Sanitation, we're responsible for the daily maintenance of the downtown area and provide sanitation services pertaining to illegal dumpings, blighted properties, graffiti, the cleanup and removal of dead animals from public spaces, along with the 141 cans that we now service 6 times a week, which is far more and beyond what we were doing when we contracted those services out. So we're getting more coverage and better coverage on a daily basis. As far as the sanitation budget goes, there's really not a whole lot to report. We pretty much held the line on most of the accounts that we have. There are 2 accounts that I do want to point out where I think we have minimal increases in the grand scheme of things. Let me figure out what page that we are on here. So on the first, they're on page 50, under building repair service, you will notice that we are looking at an increase of about $3,540 in building maintenance or building repair service. So we're looking at replacing the spouting that actually is on the sanitation building. Because of having a metal roof, a lot of times when we've had heavy snows over winter, the snow load that melts off of these roofs play a toll on our spouting, as well as some of our vent pipes as it relates to our modine heaters in the sanitation building to keep the guys warm. So looking at a $3,500 increase to try to get those spouts repaired, as well as getting these stacks replaced on the roof for our modine heaters. Moving along, really the only other account that I wanted to really point out was the vehicle repair service account, which is 10-424-44-200-00104. You did hear Keith reference early maintenance. The number of bureaus that the mechanics service. For me, unfortunately, the sanitation vehicles are not covered under fleet maintenance. So I'm anticipating about a $10,000 increase this year due to basically hourly labor wages from outside contractors going up to repair our equipment when it can't be repaired internally by Keith. When it gets sent out for a contractor to repair, obviously we're paying those increased labor wages by outsourcing. The other thing that I like to point out is that we also have a very useful piece of equipment known as the John Deere loader. For a lot of you guys, you may realize that or notice this thing as being the loader with the big set of jaws on it. That is our bread and butter in sanitation. It does everything from picking up illegal dumpings to doing all of our composting back at the compost site. But that unit goes out annually for a service inspection by the manufacturer. So at that point in time, we're making sure that all fluids, all filters, all hydraulic lines, everything with that piece of equipment is being maintained. You know, for that piece of equipment is probably almost $200,000. So as the mayor alluded to earlier about the 1980 piece of equipment, we do have to invest a little bit of money in some of these big ticketed items so that they are here. Our department likes to use the word, we like to work smarter, not harder. And that labor or that loader replaces tons of physical labor that our staff does not have to exert by using that piece of equipment. Other than that, excuse me, under the sanitation budget, everything else is pretty much just holding the line as far as what we have proposed in years past. Are there any questions by the budget team, members of council, or the audience?
No, I just want to finish up real quick. The capital fund is always in environmental services where there is a project to replace those ornamental cans.
Correct.
And that, how many do you do a year?
That's an amount of $15,000, and basically the
Okay.
the theory is it's about 10% of the cans annually. I believe that this project started. In fact, I have that. Just one second here.
2019.
Thank you, 2019. And really, I'll tell you what ends up happening is, you know, because we have so many cans dispersed throughout the downtown area, they get hit by vehicles, they get hit by contractors. The metal lids that hold the bags and the plastic liners inside those cans, they become rusted, they become missing, they become stolen by scrappers. So, you know, really this $15,000 allows for us to go through and replace the ones that are really in bad shape so that we can provide those, you know, those receptacles downtown.
Awesome. Any questions for the remainder of environmental services before we move on?
Thank you.
All right, don't go far, Tom.
No problems.
Besides our quarter of a page for the ice rink at the end, recreation and parks under 425 is the last budget department we have to go through.
Okay.
So it pretty much is yours. You do have, recreation has its own fund, Fund 20, which is separate from the general fund and the others. So the way your budget is set up is that, again, working off of the non-cost center to start with, which is the basic, some of the, where the revenue comes in overall, you've got, is pretty much all that comes in the non-cost center. And then before we get into essentially the special events and programs we do, your budget is split between administration with the cost center ends in 84 and with parks maintenance and the cost center that ends in 89. So
that's
people
correct.
are looking through here, going through the Fund 20 budget for parks, and I'm trying to see, that goes pretty far, but that's the start of it before we do have some additional expenses associated with recreation and the youth program and that such. So I don't know if you just want to go through and hit any highlights. You do show, we do have an increase coming from the general fund to at this point to balance the recreation fund. And that was done on our end in order to make it work. So again, hopefully we can go through and either find revenue that's not correct in here or expenses that we can reduce that will reduce that amount for the proposed budget. But that's where it stands at the moment. Past that, you go into your cost center 84 for recreation administration. You do have a couple sources of revenue that comes in, that comes to 175,000 there, but then the rest of it is, this is part of your salary. The other part is in the sanitation's budget.
That's correct.
And then this is also part of the office coordinator at Public Works, I believe, as well, that falls under the budget here that's listed, and the personnel costs. It looks like you actually have reductions in no change in travel, reduction in training. The rest of it is pretty much status quo. Looks like the cost of the ball fields, you'll see that we moved that. We did add last year a new cost center specifically to the Memorial Park Complex.
Correct.
So that's just cleaning up from that you're not gonna see it here anymore. You're gonna see the cost over in that cost center. And there is a reduction, you removed your other contractual service associated with this cost center specifically.
Okay.
But there's no other big changes. I need to fix that. Is there anything you'd like to say about this cost center, Tom?
As far as an 84?
Yes.
No, ma'am, there's not.
All right. Does anyone have any questions before we move on to 89, where all the fun is? All right. The Parks Maintenance Cost Center, which pretty much starts on page 54. You do have a little revenue from facility rentals of the recreation buildings like the Yorktown. And then your cost here, this is the bulk of your staff in parks, is what you're going to see with the personnel here. And all those clothing and uniform is contractual. A little bit of increase in travel and training, but that's for you specifically to get your staff out for training when needed. Locations. You do have utilities here associated with your park shop. Vehicle rental status quo. All right, moving on to page 55. So that it gets on here. Your building repair services stays the same. You do have a little bit of increase again for vehicle repair services. So these will be the specific equipment associated with parks and recreation. But I'm sure that is, again, associated with increased cost.
And a lot of that vehicle repair service, again, is for our tractors and stuff to go out for maintenance at the different repair shops in the area.
Now, you do have a $55,000 increase to your other contractual services on page 55.
I do, that is correct. And the reason for that is, so 25,000 of that is actually being recommended to me to put in the budget by CS Davidson. As most of us know, there was a stream bank restoration project that was slated for Grosse Park that has just never has come together. We are basically pulling out from that service agreement currently, and we'll be looking at this stream bank renovation project in 2026. Under the direction of CS Davidson, they have asked that we put $25,000 in so that we can do a bridge abutment permit with environmental services to relocate the footbridge that's actually in Grosse Park, which was something that was left out in the permit which is sort of like why we got off to a really bad start. The way that the bridge is there right now is it actually creates a bottleneck in the stream. So the water comes in, it goes under the bridge, which shortens the width, which then increases the pressure. And on the downside of the bridge, a lot of scouring, which is why, like, for example, the concrete cylinders are laying in the creek. If we do not remove that footbridge, we're never going to resolve the erosion problem in Grosse Park. So Dave, Keith, and I, with CS Davidson, are looking at relocating that bridge, taking it out, and moving it more up towards the play area and the picnic areas so that we can get that widening of the creek, but also getting people from the Wood Street side of the park over to the amenities that are on the parkway, which is the basketball court and the bathrooms. So that's where the $25,000 is for contractual services coming in. And then the other $30,000 that I requested, as most of you know, we just completed a tree replacement project downtown. And in doing so, we have taken notice to a lot of imperfections in the sidewalks between Pershing and Duke, which is referred to as our mall of downtown. These imperfections create stumbling issues, creates issues for people who are handicapped. And since we've got on the roll of doing improvements in the downtown area, I would like to make improvements to some of these sidewalk panels that are buckled, cracked, and broken, but also get into Cherry Lane where we have some mortar issues with the bricks, similar to what's out here in the courtyard of City Hall, but to use those monies to keep the renovation projects downtown moving forward.
Any questions up to this point?
Yeah, the question I have is, we started this goose management project at
Correct.
Kiwanis Lake
Yes,
to
sir.
try and reduce all the goose poop and all of that. And is there an end to this, or are we just perpetually paying now $15,000 a year to try and stop some geese?
So yes, this will be an oncurring expense that we will have to consider budgeting for. Just please keep in mind that before we started this, we had 375 geese that were down at Kiwanis Lake that basically just polluted the grounds, pathways, roadways, Noonan football field, Med Ed's front yard, and then obviously the neighboring residents. We hired U.S. Wildlife Services to come in. They will only remove half of the birds during the course of the year because the idea is to manage them, not to completely wipe them out. So we've had this surface now for about 4 or 5 years, actually since we got the Kiwanis Lake project done. We went from having 375 geese down there down to 40. So what ends up happening when the geese come and they nest, and then they have their babies and they fly away, the babies know as Kiwanis Lake as being home. So the babies go out, they get mates, they bring their mates back along with their parents, and now you can see how you can multiply very quickly. The $15,000 is a ballpark number only because there are removal costs that are associated by bringing in resources from U.S. Wildlife Services they round the birds up, they dispose of them. As our numbers drop, that fee will drop. I will tell you that if we do not continue to do this service, okay, so next year we should probably have about 20 that will return. If we don't continue this program, a year from now it'll be 40, a year from now it'll be 60, we'll be up over 100, we'll be up over 150, it'll multiply. The reduction of the goose population is for the safety of our kids and people who utilize the park, but it's also for water quality because you have the pollutants from their scat, not going into the lake and messing up, pH levels and nitrogen levels and all that kind of stuff. Unfortunately, it is an expense that, we're not going to, I would recommend we not cut out of the budget. I believe York High, for example, has spent some money redoing their softball fields and so forth because of the goose population that was coming up out of the Codorus. They actually went to a turf field because apparently the geese do not like turf. It's unfortunately, it's one of those things that we're going to have to do if we want Kiwanis Lake to be what I think is our pristine, environmental habitat, wildlife, nature park that it is.
Any other questions through page 55? Continuing on to 56, it looks like there's no increases or decreases to your request. 57, there is a $10,000 increase to street highway material.
Yeah, that is correct. That's just simply, we're looking at doing some pathway repairs in Penn Park, at Kiwanis Lake, the rail trail, and then we did put 3 new pavilions in the like January, February this year through CDBG funds, where we would like to bring in some sidewalks to connect them so that we can make them ADA accessible.
Finishing out page 57 into 58. This is where it gets interesting with your Parks and Recreation equipment and your other capital equipment request.
Yeah, so there is an increase that's in there. This is the money that we use to replace playground equipment, throughout our 25 parks. Everything from like swing sets to standalone components, but there is an increase of $100,000 being requested. As most of us know, there has been a master plan that has been developed for Farker Park through the Park Conservancy, who has been very diligent in trying to raise $1 million to receive a matching $1 million from DCNR. I put $100,000 in there as a way of helping to contribute to the new playground equipment that will be beneficial to the residents in 2025 or 2026, 2027.
And then your other capital equipment, you have a total of $104,500, which is an increase of $100,000. It looks like you're looking to get a used 10-ton dump truck to replace the 1980 dump truck.
Yes, ma'am. And that actually literally just fell apart on us, unfortunately, this year. But we use that dump truck for hauling out the yard waste that comes into the compost site. We have to dispose of that. We use that for getting wood carpet out to the playgrounds, to put this, which is a safety surface under the playgrounds. But it's also very useful to us when we're doing tree work. Because of the loader and having a ton dump truck, we don't have to cut the logs down into manageable sizes for people to pick up. We can actually pick up 6 to 8 foot pieces of wood or of trunks and load them into a truck and haul them out a lot more effectively, and actually provides a safer environment for our employees to work around.
Is this a different size truck than what, Dave, you were able to recently find?
No, it's approximately the same size. It would be a similar truck.
Got that for $40,000, right?
Yeah. We're hoping to get another one for $40,000.
Correct.
We budgeted $100 because we can't find one right now, but.
And we're going the used route, by the way.
We are going.
$100,000 for a used vehicle.
Yeah, we looked at another truck, a month ago, and it was in worse shape than our 1980 truck, and that was $50,000.
But you got a great one for 40.
Yeah, yes, we did. We struck gold. We struck gold. Yeah, Keith knocked that one out of the park. I did send Keith a place I passed coming up on 95 in Virginia that sells from the road. They look pristine, used trucks. So we're going to look them up and see what they can do.
We're looking at least $80,000 for a used 10-ton dump truck. That's without plow, which we're not looking for.
Correct.
So I'm not expecting to spend more than that if it's awarded, but it is possible to get something that is going to not be a lemon when we buy it.
Yeah, I think the one that Keith bought earlier in the year, sir, was listening to the business owner, he was getting out of business and selling his stuff off.
Yeah.
All right, any questions through the end of cost center 89, parks and maintenance?
I just have a question about I can't remember in the Farker Park plan, will the playground equipment have some inclusive play equipment for children with all abilities?
Absolutely. And we're also looking at, for the first time, we are actually looking at introducing, there's actually 3 components or 3 parts to the playground at Farker. Coming from a brainstorming session with the maintenance staff, one of our younger employees who has a toddler said about, hey, you know, when we go to parks or at a family picnic, there's really nowhere that's like fenced in where we can put our toddler and I can go in and we can play, where the toddler just can't go running off. So Ann Yost and her company actually facilitated incorporated a third little play area just for the younger kids, the toddlers, which we haven't done in any of our parks.
That's not quite true, Tom. I actually implemented that at Campus Park.
Yes, but that's what we're also utilizing that for the 2 to 5s. Campus Park only has a play structure that is regulated for children who are 6 and older. So we're actually incorporating, yes, sir.
That's not what I asked to be done.
Okay.
Campus Park was supposed to be a toddler park.
Well, the existing play equipment is for older kids, sir.
Okay.
But still, you only have 2 playgrounds over there, or 2 play areas, where this is now going to have 3.
I just want to say thank you for making sure that our children that have all abilities are included. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I greatly appreciate that.
My pleasure.
Any other questions for Cost Center 89? All right, moving on, the bottom part of page 58. First of all is revenue that's coming in. It's an agreement we have for the Heritage Rail Trail maintenance. Looks like we have that agreement in place through into 2027. So they pay us for the maintenance you do around the trail, correct?
Correct. Mowing, snow removal, the fences, the wooden fencing around the Colonial Courthouse. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Moving on to cost center ending in 91 for athletics. This looks like I need to widen that. I don't know why I did do that. This, I believe, is specifically to Grimes Gym and what happens there, correct?
I believe so. Yeah. I don't know if LaQuinn may be able to answer that better.
Okay, there we go. So this is revenue coming in for admissions and facility rentals of the gym. And this is for salaries for our part-time gym coordinators that help keep it opened and running and manned throughout the year. So most of this is associated with their cost, a little bit for recreation supplies and signs, machineries, but no increases to those. Actually a decrease, because I think we had recently added money for improvements to Grimes Gym that I believe was completed.
Yes.
Previous years. So that's just cost center 91. Any questions up to that point before we go to the Memorial Park Complex? Back to Tom.
I just want to recognize, if we could real quickly, Kim, LaQuinn Thompson, who is our youth coordinator. He's responsible for Grimes Gym, Yorktown Center, and all the recreation programs involving our city youth. And he has just been an extreme asset, being able to provide recreation to kids of all ages. But you know, he provides with some of his programming. He provides recreation for kids who are not sports, which I think is just an incredible asset to us. And I just want to recognize you, LaQuinn, for that.
All right, Tom, the Memorial Park Complex, cost center 92. Again, this is expenses. Several years ago, we decided there's enough expenses and revenue coming in that we should identify it separately and pull it out for Memorial Park Complex. So you've very, Dave Rudolph-wise, itemized your emissions, which is great, thank you, in terms of how that money is coming in. And then these are specific expenses, and you do have some increases, so can you explain that?
Kim and this is one of the things that I actually took notice to today when I was preparing for this evening, and I reached out to Dave. One of the things that I took notice is that in the budget, if you look for all the requests that I made in 2025, I essentially made the same request for 2026, but when it carried over, it duplicated every single account.
Yeah.
And every single account, and then if you take notice to the history of what I've done, when I've increased, I have provided information, documentation as to why that is. So I don't know what happened there.
So you don't need more money?
So, but the only thing.
I mean, I'll take it out.
Well, I would like to ask for most of that, we can keep those items the same. The one area that I would like to look at is in other contractual services, which was where that additional 27,525. We are looking at, we have a lot of out at Veterans Memorial Park Complex. We just installed 2 new pavilions that were totally funded by donations and in-kind services. Dave mentioned about the lighting that we're looking at doing, but our bathroom facilities out there are old, they're dark. Danine's laughing because she has a team that plays out there, but they are in need of some desperate work. To look at a brand new bathroom facility, you're looking at $500,000. I'm looking at the possibility of just keeping that other $27,000 in there so that we can look at replacing toilets, urinals, partitions, putting in ADA railings, things of that nature that really just keep that facility moving forward until we can find donations to create a new.
Well, considering the revenue that is coming in and what the original budget was, that would almost break you even in terms of the revenue and expenses coming in. So
Yes, ma'am.
take that under consideration.
Thank you.
All right, any questions for Memorial Park Complex? All right, the bottom of page 59, yes.
It's actually, I'm backing up to Elspeth Bupp. I'm backing up to page 58 on the rec athletics. The expenses 40020, part-time employees 17K. It says wages for part-time staff who will operate the batting cages, but does that really mean, is that supposed to be for Grimes Gym instead, since the revenue is from Grimes? Or is that just a?
I believe it is. I'll double check it.
Because you may, if you're operating batting cages, there's probably somebody somewhere else. Maybe there's staff for that somewhere else. I don't know if anybody's working Grimes full-time or part-time.
There's several gym coordinators that work part-time, so.
I think at one time, batting cage staff and Grimes Gym staff were paid out of the same account.
Yes.
So just probably some little housekeeping in there.
Description. All right, bottom of page 59 with cost center ends in 110, youth programs.
Well, hold on, I'm sorry. Oh, okay, that's what I'm about to ask about.
Okay. Okay. Besides an increase in the expected increase in contributions, but the increase in the part-time employees here, that I have to double check. I'm pretty sure that did not come through my workforce plan.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask about.
You at the bottom of the page?
Yeah, yep. Bottom of page 59.
That's with playground staff.
Yeah, that's the park directors. I'm not sure where the number came from. I forget the percentage of increase, but.
Yeah, but nobody knows what it's for, then I will remove it.
No, I know we wanted to do. LeQuinn, yeah.
Request for an increase for some of the other ones, but.
Yeah, LeQuinn has it.
Yeah, sorry about that. So we looked over the directors and the program coordinator salary, or just the pay rate. And from what I was told, it hasn't been increased in quite some time. So it's a little bit outdated. So I wanted to kind of push that a little bit more. I got to double check the numbers again just to make sure it's accurate, but we definitely want to try to increase that a little bit to entice some more like teachers to come in and kind of help out with it a little bit more, just to kind of get some more high quality.
We were looking for a more professional.
Yeah.
Can you provide me a breakdown
Definitely.
of like the anticipated number of staff you need and what positions and what you're looking for, and then I can match it to what we're currently paying for, and we can figure out what kind of increase might be warranted.
I might have that for you.
Well, I don't need it right now.
Okay.
I'm not gonna use it right now. Probably not tonight, but yes, if you can email that to me, then we can see what we can do there for you. But that is, yes, the playground staff is paid out of there. That was a big increase for there. There's no questions, I'll just keep going.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit confused though. So the playground director is a different position than yours?
Yes.
Okay.
So so the breakdown is, there's me, and then there's the playground coordinators, or the program coordinators, and then there's the park directors, and then the playground aides after that.
So each park has a director,
Has their own director.
and then they have several aides.
Yeah,
So the director essentially manages
the parks.
the park. The program coordinator is the one that assists LaQuinn in
Making sure everything
making
runs
sure
smooth.
assisting all the
Right.
directors have everything and coordinating the field trips and
Lunches, yeah, any emergencies, stuff like that.
To handle like just some challenges that some of our children do bring to the park system.
Yeah.
That making sure that we can address those challenges in a way that's healthy and beneficial to those children versus having staff that may exemplify the issue, which is detrimental to the child. So,
Correct.
Any other questions for youth program? All right, next would be the cost center that's associated with the special events coordinator or consulting contract. That's remained the same at 40. And then we start getting into cost centers that are specific events that are paid out of the recreation fund, as opposed to some events that end up being, or actually we're only down to 2 different cost centers in special projects, which would have different additional funding sources. So the money that comes in for these programs do go in the recreation fund, but it's to support the expenses associated with them. The first one is the Labor Day event. And there is a slight increase in, I guess, the rental of a stage for the Labor Day event, up to $2,000. And then a little bit of increase. You took some out of contractual, you added some of the contractual services and took them out of other supplies. If anyone has questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'm gonna just keep rolling through these. Then we have the back to school program. No changes there. Now the summer parks program. So the cost of the playground staff specifically is in the youth program, and then this is the cost associated with running the program as a whole, correct, LaQuinn? Yes. Yes, okay.
In that other contractual services, I want to bring up LaQuinn had, so that goes up by $5,000. LaQuinn actually suggested adding a program for 14-year-olds that have aged out of the program, which is great. There's, you get kids that are still willing to participate as a neighborhood, trying to keep them off the streets. So he had a great idea to extend our age bracket a little bit. So that's what the increase there is for.
And that's also an age group where we actually start to lose kids by not providing services to them. We
Right.
go up to the grade school through, junior high and maybe freshman, but after that, the kids' social development takes them past the programs that we offer, and what he's aiming to do will help keep those kids, occupied and active.
So you have a slight increase to registration fees to account for potentially more kids.
Right.
And then you have an additional cost to your other contractual services because you'll have more
Should balance out.
kids. Okay. And same with the need for additional recreation supplies. So that makes sense to me. Any questions up to this point? Then we have the Juneteenth event. No changes to that budget.
So just on the Juneteenth event, that was not supposed to be using general fund funding for that.
It's using it's in recreation.
Well, same thing, it's tax money.
Right, but there is a difference between the total expenses, like they're short $3,750 in terms of.
Right, and this started as a private event, so I'm not sure why we took it, I understand why we helped, but I don't understand why we took it over and now we're charging our taxpayers for it. So, okay, LaQuinn, can you explain?
Go ahead.
I see you shaking your head, tell me that it's not the way that it seems. So what's happening here?
So I believe moving forward, made the conversation correct. We are not doing that next year. Like you said, it was a collaboration as a way for the city to help before I got here.
Yeah.
But it became part of our budget. I'm not sure when, but I think moving forward, I think the community collaborations will be moving in a different direction.
Okay.
So I can remove this?
I believe so.
Yeah,
I think
so.
this should be removed because it was also included in the special events budget.
Yeah,
So this shouldn't be duplicate, it shouldn't be in the special events and have its own section in here. So I think this should be eliminated.
yeah.
And then it all goes under special events.
The 40,000 that's there for that.
Yes.
Okay. I'll take it out.
Yeah. And then the revenue can stay there because the revenue's gonna go to
to special
the
events.
special events coordinator.
Yeah, can't
Okay.
get away with that.
Yep, okay, good. So that whole thing is out. That doesn't mean we're not supporting it. It means how we're funding it or how it's being funded is
Correct,
different.
right.
All right, halfway down page 61, this is the last of the $1.1 million of the WellSpan contribution. This specifically is $100,000 towards the 2 new Portland loos that are being installed thanks to ARPA. This is to help with the additional expenses associated with
Public
them.
bathrooms.
Yes.
Yes.
For those that don't know what a Portland loo is, because
Yes.
who does?
Yes.
Public bathrooms.
Yeah, we've heard, we all heard, yeah. Yeah. There's a little model.
Model? I haven't seen the model.
Cost center ending in 392 for the Easter egg hunt. Again, no changes except for an additional $500,000 for $500,000.
Nice. They have a Fabergé egg hunt.
I'm trying to get us to 9, everybody. All right, I'm trying. An extra $500 for other contractual services, and LaQuinn, I'm assuming that's just in the services. Explain to me what that is. I don't know anymore.
No, it's just the regular services like the DJ. If we wanted to do the Easter Bunny costume, I know people have been requesting that again. So we're just looking at other ways to do some other attractions to it.
Perfect answer. Stay there in case we need you. Trunk or treat is next. This, you are taking some of the money out of meeting expenses and moving it to recreation supplies. And the meeting expenses would have been the food.
Yeah.
Like the candy that was associated with it. Okay, so you're just taking from Peter to pay Paul. We're cool. Summer movie series. We're making sure that we're adding, there's an additional $1,000 for the movie license fee this year. Is that what you're anticipating?
Yeah, it's increasing.
Okay, that's a bummer.
Can you increase the sponsorship?
We can.
I mean, do you think that is a viable thing to raise 5,000 instead of 4,000?
It's possible.
Do you usually have one sponsor for that or multiples?
Usually one.
Okay,
Yeah.
see what you can do.
Yeah. We can work it out.
All right, almost there. The summer concert series, no changes to that. No, it's telling me that there is, I'll fix that. And then that gets us through the Fund 20 recreation budget. We're almost there. We have a little bit in, first of all, any questions? Fund 20.
Elspeth Boppin, it's about the Portland Loo. So I feel like when we approved the ARPA money, that it was like $500,000, and that the 2 loos combined were going to be like $370,000 for the materials, and then the remainder of that 500 was the installation. So I don't know what this extra 100 would be needed for if the 500 from ARPA funded it fully, which is what I thought.
Cost of installation has gone up.
Yeah.
From the 100 and
Yes.
something
Yeah.
to
Yes.
now 200.
Trying to dig under railroad tracks, trying to get these connections is more expensive than was immediately quoted to us.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions for Fund 20? Special projects, we have 2 cost centers left in there. It's the Angels of the Park program and the Kids Hooked on Fishing. Tom, I know these are yours. It looks like you're increasing the contributions, which is good. And then there's a slight increase in the maintenance supplies. Any comment on that?
Under which one? Under playground?
Parks,
Under
Angels of the Parks, page 62 at the bottom. Now this is special projects, so we do have essentially a rolling account of donations that have come into this project over the years. But in this case, and maybe this was another typo, but no, you have it itemized out. Okay, so part of it is you have rollover money of the $22,259 from the previous year. Okay.
Right.
And then you're looking to spend a total of the 20,000. So we could probably actually reduce the rollover amount so that it zeroes out then.
So you could balance that out.
Yeah, we'll balance that out. All right, and kids hooked on fishing, slight.
And Kim, some of the projections, I'm just kind of guessing, that number could go up. It just basically, the whole Angels of the Park funding is based off of the time that I have to go out and try to solicit and make these collaborations. So the more time I have to do that, the more money I can generate. So I just sort of took a swing at it as to what could possibly happen. I hope it's going to be a lot more, but just to be on the safe side.
Right. And kids hooked on fishing. I'll just take a look that one's currently, if we're adding rollover amount, if we have money to roll over that can break that even with the total expenses, then we will.
Yeah, and I'm waiting on a Sioka dealership. I've actually have a $5,000 request into them. So they have yet, right before we did the budget, I'm like, hey, can you give me some kind of heads up, without saying, hey, where's my money, type of thing. But, I can guarantee you there will be no funding issues in those accounts whatsoever.
Awesome.
And there's definitely a rollover money in that account already.
Yeah, I mean, there's several grand that we just,
Yeah.
and that several grand is there in the event, if we ever don't find a sponsor, basically that allows us to get through a year, that we can keep the program, going.
Perfect. And ARPA, again, on the bottom of middle of page 63, there was several projects in here that will be updated according to what we've got left over that's lingering, and then what we anticipate we're going to spend for next year. So that'll be updated in the proposed budget.
Yep.
Any questions about Park and Recreation, Department 425?
My question would be related to the area around Bance Park with the encampments. Is there any kind of funding or programs would be allocated for that to handle those folks maybe transitioning into a shelter situation or treatment or whatever? Because winter is coming, so making sure that we're working with our community partners on that.
Working and funding our community partners to do that, so there was no, I would say most of the individuals that are down there are not looking to be housed. They're not trying to find shelter. So we're kind of in a situation where we have folks that are either living down there or else living in the breezeways and under the bridges and other locations around our city.
Is the city at all encouraging more people to live there? Because I've seen a community partner ask for more tents and things like that. So are we encouraging?
I wouldn't say there's any encouragement. I would say that there is a national movement led by the president to try and outlaw homelessness, and therefore we are seeing increased demand here in our compassionate city, as opposed to other communities that could be kicking people out. So we have people coming in from other locations now. It is a national problem that we're trying to figure out the best solution for. So that is all I can say. We've already funded Friends and Neighbors, and they're doing a great job working one-on-one, trying to help anybody that wants help.
And that's the nonprofit that I've seen ask for tents to supply for people. So that's
Yes.
kind of like that's where I'm kind of concerned of, is there the encouragement aspect in the parks or near the parks?
I wouldn't say there is an encouragement. I will honestly tell you what I've told other people. Because, so this is a very complex problem. People want to be close to the resources, and we are one of the few areas in the county that are supplying resources, like meals and things like that. Therefore, people want to be very close to the downtown. However, we don't want them in the downtown because the negative effects on the economy, on the feeling of safety, on all of these other things. So the only place in our city that we have that kind of fits a space where people could be and not be affecting these other things is Bance Park. It's the only, not Bance Park, but the area of woods between Bance Park and the creek. They're not in Bance Park. They're not allowed to be. If they encroach on Bance Park, they are being removed. They're also being removed if they are not keeping the place clean. So we've been working very hard on that. But so I have said that if I were once again in a place where I did not have shelter, as I was a couple decades ago, I would find a place like that to be out of the way. That doesn't make it legal. That doesn't make it safe. It's the best thing you can come up with in a problem that doesn't have a solution. So I think encouragement is too strong of a word, and the number of actual individuals has not really, so in a survey that I did in August, we had 18 individuals, no, I'm sorry, in a survey that I did in June, we had 18 individuals in 2010s. In a survey that I did in September, we had 20 individuals in 36 tents. So the number of individuals only went up 2, but the number of storage tents, of tents where people are keeping supplies for themselves, is where the huge demand has been. So we have seen slight increases in numbers, but major increases in demands for tents.
And there was a program the other year, I think it was last winter, with having those storage bins, I think at City Hall. Is that going to be continued?
No, some idiot broke in to steal things from homeless people, and they broke all 8 of the bins. That was about $900 worth of damage to city property, and it is not something that we are going to spend that money on again. It helped a few individuals because they were able to actually get jobs and in one case actually get housing, assisted by the fact that they didn't have to carry all their stuff around. But no, now that this one idiot has ruined it for everybody, we're not looking at going down that path again. They did last for a year, which is great. But then you had one person.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Page 64, the ice rink, Department 426. All we get is revenue.
And I would like to point out, for the prior existence of the ice rink, I don't think we had received revenue. We only received debt. And now, over the period of this contract, we've received almost $400,000 back from that. And I do want to thank Chaz Green, and I want to thank some other folks. I don't remember who was all in on getting that partnership together. I was, the company was, but yeah, this has been the best thing I've seen financially coming out of the ice rink. So I'm really appreciative that eventually, after decades, we are now receiving revenue from the ice rink.
Finally going the right direction.
Yeah, sometimes it takes 20 years.
Yeah.
You know?
All right, you got 50 seconds to
50 seconds to what?
end us out.
Oh, yeah, I got fit, well, are there any further comments? Any further questions or final comments from council or from the public? Going once. Going twice to bidder number 30.
Oh, wait.
Hi, Elspeth Pop, and I apologize for coming late. So I'm gonna watch the first 15 minutes of the show because I don't understand the healthcare allocation, the medical insurance allocation. I assume you guys talked about that in the first, maybe you didn't. So I'm gonna look for more information about the healthcare insurance or because we're self-funded and you had said in the last meeting and
Yeah, the
that
risk
price went
management
way up
budget
and-
in Department 22, Department 202.
Yep.
That is the budget that has health insurance, everything that's associated with the health insurance allocation is the first part of that budget. The rest of it is our general liability insurance, and that's the insurance allocation. So yes, that's where the costs come from. You got to take the cost for the health insurance. And I have a spreadsheet that does that, and I can send it to you in terms of I took all the expenses, I subtracted the revenue, what was left, it gets split among of all the full-time positions that are in the budget.
That'd be great to see because it was such a.
And that is because last year we had the $5.5 million of ARPA funding that helped pay that cost and reduce the amount that got allocated out. So that's why there is such an increase, because the budget itself, there is not a large increase.
Okay.
The increase is in the allocation because we lost that revenue source.
Okay, I look forward to getting my head wrapped around.
Also, I know per person, it looks like not like a lot of money, but it's not per person, it's per family. Because those are family insurances.
Okay.
So if you just say, hey, I can go out and get insurance a lot cheaper, no, you're not talking about that. You're talking about how much it would cost for your family to get insurance. So that's I think a big discrepancy that people don't understand.
Yeah, so I appreciate that.
All right,
Look forward to learning more.
great, wonderful. Anything else?
No tax increase, right?
Correct.
No tax increase,
That's the important part.
absolutely. And as far as I know, no additional fees of any kind that we're expecting to go up
Not at
before
this
the end of the
point,
year. Yeah,
no.
okay.
No one's
All right,
anything.
with that, that concludes the hearing for the proposed 2026 budget for the city of York. And this hearing is adjourned at 9:01 PM, October 28th, 2025. Thank you, everybody, for joining us.